Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the LTA South. Been a minute for me, but we did at least have a Sunday broadcast back last week. We are back again with group stage for our LTA South, and we're kind of kicking it off with a bit of a weird week this week. I think a lot of teams are finding their footing. Best of threes is a bit of an adjustment, and everyone's going back to fearless, so strategies have shifted a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed, but a lot of things have also stayed more or less the same. Mostly looking about Group A and the dynamics because, yeah, we're gonna be playing on a different patch, but I don't think that a different patch is gonna suddenly make the gap between some of those teams disappear or fix some of the cohesion mistakes and communication mistakes that some of those teams are making, and just let them reach to the top.
Yeah, it definitely comes out more in those best of series when it's not just the best of one. You can't just coast by on one good performance. If your team doesn't have the cohesion, like you mentioned, the ability to work together as a team and push your game state forward, it starts to really become a glaring weakness. We've seen it, from some of the bottom of the table teams so far. It's kind of starting to show itself as this major problem, and it's what's
Mhm.
differentiating really like the middle of the pack from the content. That middle of the pack is split into like contenders and pretenders, and the group stage is really kind of sorting out who's who.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we also have we discussed that in the podcast as well. But we have like two very very different groups right now. As Group A looks very cut and dry. That there's a very clear first place, most likely a very clear second place, and then there's the rest just fighting for scraps. But Group B might have a little bit more in the tank. Now, of course, I'm not really talking about Flux or W7M, who did show some improvement compared to Split 1, but after that, I can say that I'm seeing more of the same. Like I don't see the same upwards trend going forwards into the group stage, but the rest of the teams, Red, are looking a little bit more uh, grouped up, or I don't know how to say, mature in their play. Furia and Loud. They seem to at least make Furia struggle a little bit before falling themselves.
Yeah, it's a statement as old as time when it comes to Loud is that these guys scale. They do whatever during the best of ones phase. They muck about. They don't care. And as you see the roster pulled up on your screen, I think the primary guy I think of when it comes to like limit testing the best of ones phase is the top laner there, Robo, and that's
Mm,
it feels like that's where the success has been for Loud, has been whether or not their solo laners can take over a game. When you put Robo on something like the Rumble and you see him just demolish enemy teams, it's a clear, easy victory for Loud. And when they're not able to take over, Loud really seems to stall out. They just can't hit that altitude. The engine stalls and they fall out of the sky. But now that we're
I
in
mean,
best of threes, they're scaling up. They're doing the playoffs thing. It's not quite playoffs yet, but don't tell Loud that.
they have had some very interesting drafts as well. I felt like game two, which they won versus Furia, they had completely outdrafted whatever Furia wanted to do in their own group. But apart from that, I am not convinced that they are a top two team. Right? I know that they are a top four team, so they're for sure on the top of the standings for me. I feel like they should have their place in the playoffs almost locked. Like the key is very close to the kill, but they are still the good OC below team, right? They know how to dominate kids. They know how to flex on people who aren't on the best of their days or are struggling to find some cohesion. But if you are looking to fight versus some better teams, they have something lacking. That's certain je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, and that kind of just comes down to there's a lot of factors when it comes to League of Legends. Coaching
Yeah.
staff has been changing, and there's a lot of changes. We talk about Fluxu though, and they have seemed a little bit on the weaker end. And again, we keep saying, oh, they feel so much improved from Split 1, but everything is an improvement from Split 1. Anything could be a step up. from that first split. Now we're into the draft, and we have seen some nerfs to some of the big priority picks. The Gwen has received a little bit of a tune down. Kallista's early game has taken a hit, and so we might see some different priorities starting. It looks like Fluxu really wants that Azir, and I guess technically that is a flex pick if you really think about it.
I mean, it's a flex pick if you're Furia, maybe. I'm not sure if a lot of people should be flexing it in the top side. Top lane is a very elongated lane, right? And as there, you might be feeling that, hey, I'm mobile. I do have my shifting sands, and I can drift a little bit around, but it's still such a long lane. You get hit with one crowd control, they block your slide, you're doomed. You have nothing there to do. You spend your flash, you spend your ultimate, suddenly you can't really lane, right? So I wouldn't love to see that Azir going into the top lane. Fu can actually influence the map in the mid game with the Azir, so I'd really love to see him just get that and try to survive the early laning phase. And on the bottom side, there have the classic Ash Brom hover. I think it's going to be a lot. We already see a Jin Zhao. I don't think that Redbird is going to be going into any ranged options, so Brom is more or less a safe pick here.
Yeah, and I think that's really smart from Fluxu just to lock in what's a solid bot lane and obviously pick up the Braum, who just really counters the Misfortune in a very brutal way. Misfortune's damage is all locked up in that bullet time, and Braum really shuts most of that damage down. That's kind of the risk if you're going to draft your ADC separate from your support, is that either the support you want is going to get picked away, or now they can really target down your ADC, and you have to find a way to answer that now.
I mean, you could say that, but it could be the Talia support, right? There is the angle. We are the LTA South. We've seen worse picks than that. Talia used to be a support for like a patch or two, so you never know.
We are the region that pioneered what Belveth's support. So nothing's out of the picture. So we see the second wave of bans come through. Skarner going out, really targeting down that jungle pool is I think the objective for Loud, seeing as Ganks hasn't picked his champion, and the jungle pool's already pretty narrow with Xinjiao off the board and 3 bans already directed that way.
Get either Jarvan off or Malphite off. I think right now you do not want to see that easy engage into 2 immobile carries that can kind of close the gap and immediately punish you, not allow you to play the game. But no, they let both of those picks through. They will most likely pick support on R4, so they must not want to let Jace as a blind pick in Hidden Sands.
Don't want to leave Jace up as the blind pick, which means probably they are looking to something that doesn't want to necessarily lane bully, something maybe for Robo that scales a little bit harder, because otherwise Jace is going to kind of just push you around if you give him that ranged advantage. So I am interested to see what Loud's strategy here is for these last 2 picks. I don't think you can really go wrong with the Alistar. We're seeing a lot of different hovers, but I won't be baited. And I think Rel is a good pick for Redbird, who generally has a good head on his shoulders when it comes to timing his engages. I feel like you could do a lot worse than Rel for their current comp.
I mean, honestly, if you ask me, I think that Nico was a pick over here, right? You're punishing the Braum, you're not allowing the Ash be a nuisance in the early game. You can block stuff like the Winter's Bite, like the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, if you're fast enough, of course, on your W. Plus, it's still a huge engage tool, right? None of the enemy picks are really mobile, so if you have your flash and maybe a rocket ball, you could always engage. But Rel, always a safe option, as you said. Never really going wrong with Rel. I'm not sure, maybe versus a Janna, but who plays Janna in competitive? Thank God that champion is dead in every competitive environment. I hate seeing Janna. And we're going to be seeing a Pantheon jungle who still will be looking to punish that Talia and Misfortune, especially with the Grand Starfall.
Yeah, it does give you a lot of extra mobility around the map. The Grand Starfall effectively gives you a teleport that does damage to an extent. And like you said, 2 immobile carries, that does give you the opportunity to really punish them, get on top, drop the stun all 3 empowered autos, and then roll just through the whole combo. You can delete a lot of squishies that way, but it is punishable. because early on does not have that ganking power. So Shinny kind of will have uncontested access to these lanes and probably a lot of these early jungle objectives because of the nature of just being Xin Zhao. But that does not hurt as much anymore. You do have what until 8 minutes now before first grub spawn.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Pantheon early ganking because it's very easy. You flash W, nothing the enemy team can really do unless they play with the cleanse, right? Plus, the enhanced auto attacks really hurt early on if you're playing with something like a Prezi attack. Suddenly, you're dealing absurd amount of damage even from level 2 because you already stack the next empowered spell. Your next Comet Spear will hurt like hell. But I can see that it's not really easy to contest as in Zhao, especially level 3. You only have one spell immunity or damage immunity, excuse me, and Jin Zhao is very, very good at sticking on top of you and dealing that absurd early amount of damage with his skirmishes.
And with the change to the jungle objectives, there's a bigger incentive to skirmish and fight. Now the progress towards your feat of objectives is granted for 2 grub wins instead of just having to get all 3 for it to count. So there's a lot of incentive to try and hinder the enemy team and try and contest that early. So I think that's going to be our big point of contention in this game as we shift towards the mid game is going to be a lot of who can control, especially that top side jungle is I think going to be kind of the focal point.
Yep, we might see a lot of skirmishing there. Of course, I'm not really sure about like a Milbank. We didn't really speak about it on Capybara. Ooh.
Little
Now
capybara
I have that.
fashion.
Now I have that stupid song stuck in my head. Like what you have done, LTA South. Now, the only thing I can think of is capybara, capybara, and so on, so forth.
As we get on to, I just think probably the one of the best rift designs, the Spirit Blossom, Ionia Rift here for season 2.
Yeah,
Really great visual direction. Just a lot of small changes similar to the Noxus Rift, but obviously not
yeah.
Noxus ugly, disgusting. Ionia, that's
No,
peak design. Peak design.
I loved Noxus. Again, it's not traditionally beautiful, but not everything needs to be traditionally pretty, right? Like there are a lot of other things that are nice. It had a brutalist aesthetic, which usually all those war loving societies do tend to have. If you think about like any history museums, any of those empires. But here, the only thing I have against the Ionian map is how obnoxiously bright the fountain is. Actually, no, I have half a thing more. So, how bright the fountain is, okay, and that I hate when certain champion quotes become obsolete. Like Brom had my favorite quote in the game: "Vision is the key to victory." Also, stone, because there was an item Vision Stone, and now it's obsolete. And Orn has this quote saying, "Still no water in the fountain," and now there's water in the fountain.
that does really, that's why we don't see Orn anymore. People don't want to see the quote go to waste.
Yeah,
As
for sure.
both teams kind of vying for just that wave control early on. No one's going to pull the trigger here yet at level 2s. We do see the level 2 advantage in the bot lane, but no real opportunity to trigger as we'll see all 3 lanes come up on screen. I'm wondering, who do you think is going to take that kind of early control of the map state, and how do you think they do it?
I mean, honestly, it should be like for the first 5 levels, it should be Flaxo W7M just because their lanes have more inherent control, right? Like usually the Azir, it's way easier for him to push those first couple of waves with just autoing and queuing the backline of a wave. Botlane will already see, but now there's a gun coming on. Redbird didn't flash, or at least maybe he tried to bait out the enemy flash without him using his, but that just means that Inons use the time to check what's going on River and return to his lane.
Yeah, no angle to get in there. Ultimately, just gonna pop in, say hi, come back up, maybe drop a ward along the way. And I think we're kind of in for a bit of a slower early game. I think we're going to jockey for position and like fight each other in the sense that it's the kind of hand fighting at the beginning of like a wrestling or a martial arts match where you're kind of sizing each other up, and it's not going to be until at least that first dragon, probably that first or second grubs spawn, that we're going to see someone really make a move, go for that first grapple and try and take their opponent to the ground.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's only one grab spawn now. Not sure. I want to ask your opinion about that change. Right, there's only one
Right,
grab spawn.
right.
If you collect two of those little grapplings, suddenly you do have that feat of strength, that one objective point that counts. Thing is, I think it just disincentivizes a little bit of the fight. We had so many neutrals up until the, I don't know, 15, 17-minute mark that you almost always had some portion of the map to fight over, right? Some control to fight over, some vision wars, or even the neutral objective itself. Now, it feels like the first 8 minutes are kind of empty because not a lot of teams will go for the early Drake if there's nothing on the other side and if they feel that the enemy team might check them.
Yeah, if you're worried about losing that early Drake fight, it's hard to find a cross map since grubs now spawn a full 2 minutes later. You are right with only the single spawn. It does feel like perhaps it disincentivizes the fight because if they just go in and they pick up those two grubs very very fast, then as we see a flash in, Rel engage immediately. Fu going to have to burn the flash as well. Redbird burned both summoners there. Fu left at half health. I don't think Fu's complaining too much about that, as he's going to just go potion back up, use some biscuits, and ultimately not miss out on too much. Just a bit of health lost in the end, and his flash, which does mean he needs to be careful. He is vulnerable to getting re-ganked,
Yeah.
but ultimately worked out fairly well for Fu.
Yeah, I think the one who's gonna complain right now is gonna be Ganks. Never mind.
As Ganks comes in, a huge shuffle into the stun, and that is first blood on the board. You talked about how easy it is to just flash W someone. Well, a great ultimate. The Emperor's Divide from Fu means the flash doesn't even get burned, and Ganks finds a free stun. Very well executed. And like I said, Fu not complaining about that gank earlier.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a lot of disrespect shown by T-Nouns because he didn't flash the Emperor's Divide. He knew that Ganks was there in the area. He was just clearing his own control wall and opted to just eat the ultimate to his face and then spend the flash. So it's a lose-lose scenario for Loud's mid laner. And now Ganks, who in any other scenario would have needed to spend so much time around mid lane to just cover for his mid laner, he's feeling very happy himself collecting the kill.
Wind becomes lightning, going to get a bit of a slow onto Ganks as Tenons is going to move down in position. Here comes the knockup from the 3 talent strike. Ganks forced to burn the flash, but Redbird's there, could opt to continue the engage as now Fu's caught out of position. Shinny is on top of him, and the whole team is going in here at the dragon fight. Before everyone's even considering dragon, it's just for the fight, just for the blood, and Ganks picks up a kill, but now Marvin's out of position, has to burn the flash, and ultimately somehow Flukes will walk away with another kill.
And no deaths! How did nobody die there? There were so many summoners being blown. Ganks flash, Marvin both summoners, geeks his heal, but nobody ends up dropping, and that's a net positive, at least for the moment, for Fluxo W7M. But the only thing is, they now are in such a disadvantage summoner-wise that for the next 3 minutes, Loud still might have complete control of the map as the goal difference isn't that big. But let's rewatch the whole situation. Shin is waiting for T-Nouns to start moving, starts the skirmish, and I think that Redbird is so late to the party. He doesn't want to show himself, doesn't want to use its pincer movement, and that allows Shinny to just stay there. He flashes into the wall as well. That's very, very unlucky. And although Redbird finds a nice engagement to Marvin, Marvin still has both the barrier and the flash.
Yeah, I think you got it just right there, is that because Redbird was a little late coming up and he got caught by the hawk shot on vision, didn't want to just step into the river, and so he takes the long way around, and by the time he's there, Shinny is pretty much already dead. And that's kind of what ended up costing them that if Redbird gets there, I mean, a fraction of a second sooner, they probably pick up 2, maybe 3 kills there. It's a really different ball game we're talking about. And Shinny, unfortunately, flashing into the wall, that's one he's going to want back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the most unlucky moment. I think that's the biggest regret. Oh, wait, because that could have been a kill. If he done just committed with the ultimate, he might had just enough damage to kill.
Yeah, and Scion, usually a pick you're picking to just stay safe. All right, he had to blind pick it. Didn't know what he was going to end up playing into. And so you pick it because you're just going to scale up. You're going to be healthy. You're going to have your ultimate late game and be difficult. As here comes the engage. The Grand Starfall, though, into the Dragon Pit. Everyone's fighting up here at the top side. Tinones picks up a kill. That's going to be a second one. The Grand Starfall did allow them to pick up the Dragon, however. It's going to be 2 kills over to Loud, but a Dragon over to Fluke's W7M.
Yeah, I think Loud are very, very happy with the trade as they find themselves back in the late gold-wise. It might be just marginal, but they're still very fine. Look at the individual lanes. They're all ahead by the jungle. They can play for the grabs if they need to. Robo just collected the extra wave, and he done spent the teleport just to do nothing. So you're giving the Drake, you're equalizing the gold, you're equalizing the kills, and he can still fight for the Fit of Warfare. As the moment they see ganks just committing, they find the angle onto Marvin.
Yeah, and you see there, Giggs is able to block out a lot of the damage from the bullet time, but it ultimately doesn't matter because they were able to just get so much damage from Tinones right onto Marvin's face. There was really no response there because their jungler was in the middle of this long channel for his ultimate. And also, I didn't notice that until the replay, but we ended up having to burn a teleport down, and so that meant that Hidan had to use his ultimate to get back to topside.
So no ultimate right now, no teleport as well. Hidan can't really play the side lane. They're sending full onto the side lane, and Azir, he's doing fine-ish on the side, but so early in the game he doesn't really want to be playing away from the neutral objective. So Loud right now should have complete control of the area. Robo also recalled, collecting more and more components for the Triforce. And the moment Camille hits Triforce, maybe even the Ravenous Hydra, you know she's going to be unstoppable on that side lane.
Yeah, Camille is going to be very, very difficult to answer. A lot of mobility, able to kind of pick and choose their engages. What I was saying earlier is you kind of expect the bullying to be done by the Camille early on, but just the amount of health that Hidan has made it very difficult for Robo to do anything, and Hidan's able to still get in good damage. Barely misses the little minion he's thrown at him, and doesn't pick up any more damage. The gank not available. And again, we're back to kind of waiting for something to happen. A grub has been picked up. The bot side kind of getting cleared of vision, but there's, like you said, with the changes to the neutral objectives, there's just not much to fight for.
Yeah, I mean, Shitty doesn't really care about the neutrals as well. He's just going into the enemy cross-side jungle. They're pressuring a zero of waves. They're getting the play ahead, and also
Gank's caught out of position, caught walking blind in his own jungle, and he's going to find an entourage there ready to greet him. VIP treatment straight to the gray screen with the express pass. No response.
And this is just all of those hiccups that Flaxo has, right? They know that they have control over the top side, but they feel like they're so strong, they want to do anything because they maybe are used to teams not punching them in the second division. But Loud is not one of those teams. They just play the cross map, they collapse the moment they see you trespassing, and they give you a fine of 1 more death.
As now some poke damage onto Giggs, who's out of position. I want to talk about this. Look at his vision here. He has no wards and no friends, and that Redbert comes out of that bush, clearly catches him by surprise. And yes, Redbert burns the ultimate, but the kill goes over to Root for pretty much nothing, and getting that misfortune ahead makes her go from kind of an iffy pick to a big powerhouse if she can just get a couple of items online.
Yeah, especially if you complete the Bloodthirster early, such an expensive item, but the moment you complete it, suddenly you really don't need to reset anymore unless you have 1300 gold or more, so you can get all of those kind of expensive and iffy components that Misfortune loves to collect. So right now he's at the best state that Root could ever wish for. The grabs are still up for grabs, so you can go now collect a couple of grabs, and then play for the second Drake that spawns in 50 seconds time. And Loud feel very, very nicely as all that early game. You were talking about the Sion. He's an early game powerhouse in my mind. Pantheon as well. He descales way more than a Jin Zhao because a Jin Zhao at least has the Crescent God, and that creates so much space. What does Pantheon have? Nothing. So suddenly you have two picks that are losing a lot of influence on the map in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, they have to find and angle the, saving grace, the silver lining for that Pantheon is he does have 2 kills, has that first item online. That'll make him a lot tankier. Effective health, just being able to heal and get onto people, get that empowered auto off. So he can hopefully buy a lot of space as these team fights come up. We see the plate gold coming out as a big difference. 250 gold doesn't seem like a lot, but all those little bits add up over time, and that's how you have that 1,500 gold lead, which is nothing to sneeze at 15 minutes. Both teams, they're in the river, but no one's going to contest the drag. That's free for Loud, and Loud's just going to leg it out.
Yeah, and I think that this is what I like to call as the tourist neutral objective by Flaxo. They went to the area, they took some pretty pictures of Loud getting the Drake, and they effectively did nothing, right? They just existed.
Yeah,
Ganks using.
He uses the Grand Starfall, but doesn't catch anyone with it. Now Geeks is out of position, gonna drop the Glacial Fissure. Ganks trying to find it in, but can't find it. Here comes the Magnet Storm. They are just picking Fluxu off in the jungle. The Ignite from Redbird is going to pick up the kill. Now Geeks is gonna be next up on the dinner plate. 3 Talon Strike coming in for the knockup, and that's another kill. Wind becomes lightning, Geeks becomes dead.
And they're not picking Fluxo in the jungle, they're picking Fluxo in their own jungle. They're getting teleports left, right, and center, they're getting kills, they're getting whatever they please from the whole map. Now the score is 2-5, and suddenly 250 gold from the place doesn't seem like much, but it has snowballed in an over 2k gold lead 15 minutes into the game 1.
Yeah, 2k gold lead at 15 minutes, quite a powerful lead. And like you said, generally on a team that you expect to scale a little bit better, just because some of those picks aren't gonna last you much longer into the game. They have done some work in the most recent patch to make Ash's late game a little stronger, but it's mostly based off that bonus attack speed. As Robo going to use ultimate, Redbird coming in, gets the stun down. Robo trying to get as much damage as he can, takes a tower shot that almost took his life. Hidan able to just barely escape.
Yeah, but you got Hidan's flash, right? So that's at least a victory. And also, wait, do you see Hidan's build?
I do see Hidan's first item.
Is that old school the bows?
This guy is here to clear waves and do damage, and I'm interested to see if it works out. I don't know if it will.
I mean, it synergizes very well with Science passive, right? And look at his passive. He already has 650 stacks. That's next level stacking, if you ask me. I don't remember the last time I saw somebody have so many Science stacks at 16 minutes. But I'm not expert as well, so it could be normal numbers. It synergizes very well with Science passive, but usually you want something more to start with, right? Something to get a little bit more HP, or the heart still used to be a very, very popular item, although it's quite nerfed lately. Thank No Arms Watley for that. And maybe they just don't like the gold efficiency.
Tinones doesn't know about Fugit's Emperor's Vi. That means the Winter's Bite will miss, but Tinones is now well out of position. You're heading the wrong direction. And Ganks, what are you Grand Star falling?
He's there. He's there. He helped. And that's all that matters.
As now Hidan getting dived in the top side, but no one able to commit. Hidan has too much health. And look at that damage between him and the tower he's able to do onto Redbird. But that does allow Loud to pick up Shelly, and Shelly has had a little bit of changes, a little bit of where the value lies has shifted, but still a very valuable tool, and they're going to use it to crack open this outer tower.
Yeah, and especially the mid lane tier 1 is so important. And now they're looking for more.
Huge engage! Magnet Storm right into the bullet time. No escape there for Marvin, and that's another tool coming in. Here comes the Weaver's Wall. They're still looking to fight. And they are going to take a second tower in the mid lane, and Fluxo has no way to contest.
Yeah, that's a very, very good Shelly usage, if you ask me. The opening up the map so wide from the middle lane, you can now enter deep into the enemy jungle territory, place your wards, know exactly where the enemy is and what they plan to do as you strive to open the side lanes more and more. And with no neutrals up on the map for the next minute, you can look to easily siege some of those side lane tier ones.
I want to quickly touch on that the gold totals they just showed on screen. MF has the most gold in the game, which I think normally you think of it as going to your big high CS mid laners, and obviously ADCs when they're picking up a lot of kills. Root has been there for a lot of fights, but only has one kill. But still, with the amount of CS Root has, 182, tied with Fu, able to have just so much gold. And like you said, when you have the Bloodthirster, you only have to reset to get your big components. A lot of damage coming out from this Misfortune.
Yeah, and she's very, very close to the Mortal Reminder as well. So she knows that she can deal damage to almost anyone. Redbird
Yanks
getting
comes
caught, but
out. Redbird just gonna step away.
oof.
No big engage tools used. Both teams showing a little bit of restraint. Neither team willing to pull the trigger there in the mid lane. Fluxu W7M is going to start up the Cloud Drake here, but Loud quickly coming in behind to contest. And Fluxu has to be careful because they will lose this 4-on-4.
Redbird also has the flash, a teleport.
And here comes the flash, big engage. The Glacial
Interrupted.
Fissure comes out, and Emperor's Divide, and Hidan on the flank. This is giving Fluxu the momentum they need. Are they able to pick up the kills? They're on the back foot, though. Look at the amount of damage coming out from Root. They are unable to take care of those immobile carries. Root and Tinones able to do so much damage. So even though Fluxu W7M had the start, they had the fight at the beginning, the momentum quickly shifts in favor of Loud.
Yeah, and that was the best fight scenario as well for the side of Fluxu W7M, as Brom instantly interrupted the bullet time the moment Rout pressed that R. He got hit with a Glacial Fissure, was knocked up in the air, and that means that so much damage didn't exist for the side of Loud. And yet, with a double teleport, they show that the gold lead they have now is pretty significant. They collect the Drake. Actually, no, the Drake is still standing, my bad, but they collect the fight, they collect the turret, and now they expand the gold lead to almost 4,500 gold.
It almost feels like Loud, obviously they lost 2 members there in that fight, didn't really have the health to continue on to the Drake, but they're just going to, if they can force that fight again, make Fluxu walk into them again, as we see here, that teleport coming in, and Redbird doesn't really catch everyone with the engage, and a great bullet time, and an Emperor's Divide, and it still didn't matter. Look how long it takes ganks to die. And it doesn't matter.
I think Hidan takes less time to die now in the life. I see a Hex Ultimatum there. The Soul Furnace will not save him for long, and that's your counter pick. Now Camille finally skilled. I think she has 2 items.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Fluxu's not going to get a more ideal fight than they got in that Dragon Pit. What is the possible angle? Now you're down 5k. You need to find something. As Loud only sending 2 members to deal with the new Thornbound Otacon. Clearly not worried about the damage he can deal at all. What is the play?
Yeah, the play right now is to let Fu just farm up, go to 7 items, and then start praying. I think, like, you get your brain.
Oh my goodness, and
nice
here
touch.
comes an Enchanted Crystal Arrow, immediately followed by the Grand Starfall. Almost like a set piece. We are blowing 3 ults, but Robo is down. That's a shutdown over to Fluxu. And
okay, so Fu got the kill as well. So suddenly he finds himself 1,300 gold over Tinounce, but still you're in a net negative right now on the map. You use 3 ultimates, so if for any reason Loud wants to look for any skirmish, they should have the upper hand with so many motos up and available. But for now, it's a great pick. It gives also some mental boost to your team. You got that wombo combo that you were looking for your whole game long, and you collect a shutdown.
yeah, Fluxu is still just looking to find a spot to take advantage of that little bit of space they created. Robo still not onto the map. Does not have teleport up, I believe. No, it is. It looks like it's on cooldown because of the shading on the icon, but I think it's up.
No, I think it's
Is it? I can't
no,
tell.
it's not available. It's not
It's
available.
not
There is
available.
it's a sliver of that teleport by, which is still not there, is still getting regenerated, and somehow Flux just runs them up. They got another turret, so they're opening up all silent tier ones, but the gold remains stable over there at that 4,500 gold lead for the side of Loud. They still feel pretty fine, but Flux at least they show that they have a pulse. They know that they can do some things on the map, and they capitalize on that.
And those ultimates they burned not gonna matter here because they're almost all back up. The Grand Starfall, the only one still on cooldown, and it is very shortly going to be off of that cooldown. So now next time Loud look for a fight, they've kind of missed that window they had where Fluxu didn't have those big tools in response. They're coming up to the top side. Is Loud going to attempt to dive?
And Hidan is pretty tanky, if only in terms of pure HP. He's over 4k HP. He's not even 2 items strong, but I don't think he can survive an elongated lane. He can survive a dive. He has so much crowd control, so much interrupt, and that extra Soul Furnace shield should give him so much more time to play that he immediately dissuades a dive. But Loud is slowly playing the game. They're just looking for Robo to keep split pushing, to gather a lot of information, gather a lot of resources from the side of Fluxo, who will try and stop him, and then they play the snap engage on the other side.
Now Baron is on the map here, 25 minutes. Look at that total damage. It is all Robo and Hidan. Robo farming damage off Hidan and Hidan doing it right back. And then everyone else on the map. And you talked about that split push. They are just trying to hope Hidan can answer in the 1v1 on that bottom side, but I think Robo is going to be more than happy to only have to deal with one member of Fluxu, as Fluxu's gonna try and keep their members in the top side to possibly respond to this Baron, but they've got no vision. Look at the vision control by Loud right now.
Yeah, they have gotten everything. There's only one ward behind the Baron Pit that exists right now for the side of Fluxo. And also, I think Robo is so happy every time that they send somebody else to answer. That means that he gets more and more ahead in XP. He's 2.5 levels ahead. He's the highest level in the game. Very close to level 18, and we're still only 25 minutes in, so he must be feeling very happy for himself, as the moment you give him an inch, he's gonna take 2 towers for you.
Yeah, he is farming up 3 items, like you said, at nearly level 18, 2,500 gold up on his opposite. Gank's now able to take his buff, but then promptly forced out of his jungle by Loud's boarding party, as they are just continuing to take space and take control of vision. And now they have to be careful because here comes the flank. Shinny's there. He's going in, and he's got the Crescent Guard up. He is fighting, but he is almost on his own. Redbert finally arrives to provide some backup, but Redbert is the sacrifice. Marvin's going to take that kill. They are able to find one in response, and it is Ganks. Shinny's still alive, which means Loud will have an advantage if they want to look towards this Baron. Fluxu's still trying to hunt down some of the members of Loud, perhaps, or at least respond in some way, but they're just going to find nothing on the map. Going to have to clear out their mid lane, and that means Shinny's going to take this dragon relatively uncontested.
Yeah, Drake is free. The bot lane was also free. Robo went and intercepted the next wave, so now it's already pushed in, and we're seeing a couple of pings on the Baron, but I'm not sure that you can actually go in there and collect it. A very nice trade over there. Yes, you over engage on one side a little bit with Shinny going so deep, but look, somehow Rot, he is the engage option for the side of Loud. He has created so many of those team fights that you think that he's the one playing the role.
Oh, that's what happened to Ganks!
Oh no.
Ganks!
Oh, not like this. Not like this.
I was wondering how he died. I saw the Grand Starfall come out, and I saw that he died in River, and I was like, we'll touch on it later. There might be a replay. I wonder how Ganks died.
I thought it was the mask.
He died because he got shot by Baron.
He got literally spat at. He's like, Hawk 2, I get the heck out of my face, and Baron. So Loud are playing with 6 players, right? They got Barn as player 6, and he's the one winning the fights right now, at least keeping
Yeah,
them
I
even.
mean, with the vision control around Baron, it's pretty much Loud's part of the map. That's no longer neutral territory. That is a red side
Yeah,
objective at the moment. And he is
yeah.
really functioning as their sixth man. NBA awards have been coming out. You guys follow basketball over the last like month or so, the big awards. Why is Baron not nominated for sixth man of the year? I want to understand this.
His team is not in playoffs, it seems. But Robo looking for the flank now. They are never gonna pull the trigger. And I think that this is why we were praising Flux at the beginning of the split, right? Because this is where they would completely collapse, fall down, like through 3 flights of stairs in split one, and wouldn't be able to do anything, just be a pushover. But now they have learned a little bit of how to calm the map down. They have learned how to stall out games and just be a nuisance. I don't want to call it anything else because you're not really doing anything proactive. You're just being a nuisance and you're staying even. The goal lead hasn't changed significantly for the last 10 minutes, but this will never win you game. So this is where the good teams will show themselves and just be able to
All of the
be patient.
ultimates coming out. So much damage from bullet time, almost entirely uncontested. But Tinones finally falls in response. But Robo finds a kill onto Marvin. Robo just ripping through that that Fluxu backline, pardon me, as
Ooh.
now he's ripping through the Fluxu
Oh.
front line. And you saw the pings coming out. They said, we cannot let Loud get this Baron. We got to do something about it. But Loud said, okay, come and fight us. We're 6,000 gold up and we don't care, as Hidan will be the next to fall. Robo just tearing through all of Fluxu W7M.
And 1 ace is all it takes. They will get game 1 of this best of 3 at least. It was difficult, but at some point Fluxo needed to face check, and when they did, they got slapped to the face. 30-minute game, Loud getting that first victory pretty convincing for at least 20 minutes, but there are still a couple of kings that they need to straighten if they want to be considering themselves a title contender.
Yeah, I mean, I think you called it perfectly correct. A few minutes before that game end, Fluxu W7M, they're doing a good job contesting a little bit. They're being a bit of a nuisance. They can cause problems, but what are they actually advancing on the map? They're just playing defensively. They're just prolonging the inevitable. And when they're finally forced to engage and make a decision, Loud chews them up, spits them out, and takes their Nexus. Luckily, it's a best of 3 series, right? Fluxu has a chance to answer, and with Fearless Draft, they don't have to worry about any of the things Loud just picked anymore. So they're going to have to try some new answers going forward. I'm interested to see how this plays out. I wonder, Fluxu feels like a team that can take a game. I don't think they can take the series, but I would love to see them come out swinging in game 2 and just try and take a chunk out of Loud early. Don't leave it up to who can win a team fight at late game. Just come out, ball in the first 5 to 10 minutes and see what happens.
I mean, they more or less did exactly that in the first game, right? They were there, they got a couple of picks, they were ahead 2-0, and then suddenly, in 3 minutes, everything collapsed. Like, the first dominant dropped, and you're finding yourself 2,000, 2,500 gold in deficit. And from that moment onwards, I never really felt that it was Flaxo games, bar a 2-minute period when you collapse on the bot side, you got the bot side tier 1, you then moved every chess piece to the top side, got the tier 1, and then nothing again. You never threatened the mid lane, you never were ahead on waves, you couldn't do anything actually.
Well, there's only one way we're going to find out, and that's to watch it unfold live. I am kind of stoked to see just what they're going to cook up, because they do need to change something up. They do need to figure something out. But first, we need to take a break, and we'll be right back. So don't go anywhere. welcome back. We have a second game on the docket between Fluxu, W7M, and Loud. Rev, that first game, it looked promising for Fluxu for about 4 minutes, and then after that, it was about 20 minutes of pure dominance from Loud. Are we seeing the same thing for a second game in a row? Are we getting a 2-0 today?
Well, yeah. I mean, they Flaxo had one more week to try and create something because the good thing with Flaxo is that you're seeing that they're building on fundamentals, right? They don't have a random issue in the mid game where the late game is good, and if they reach that late game, they are a threat. They have a pretty stable early game, and when I say stable early game, I mean the first 5 to 7 minutes where what you can practice is scrims reliably, because after that we all know that scrims can get pretty chaotic. So they're building on top of that, and since for one more week they haven't created the next step in that ladder, I don't see it suddenly manifesting right now. So I don't think that they have much more in the tank. And the only way that they could take a game, in my eyes, is if Loud suddenly drops the ball and they try to draft something really wacky to just playtest something on stage. And that's how Flaxo can get away with a game win. Otherwise, I can see that as a pretty clean 2-0.
Now, as far as my understanding of the format is, we do lose a team from each group after the end of group stage. Fluxu does not want that to be them, so maybe pressure will make diamonds. But until then, I have to agree with you. It feels like they've got that first step down, and then they take another step and they fall off the edge of the building. And we just need them to keep building the staircase. And maybe by the time Split 3 rolls around, they can be a playoff contender. They can be someone that can actually, challenge some of these top teams. But at the moment, it just feels like there's just not quite enough there. There's something there. There's a spark, but there's not quite embers.
I mean, the only thing I could think when you said that they might be playoff contenders is this. Because I call cap. I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it. Okay, I may be toxic right now, but I don't see it happening. They are pretty much an infant of a team, and although they have learned how to drag their bodies, like the plum little bodies, on all four legs, I don't see them taking the first steps. And in order for you to get into playoffs reliably, I don't think you need to learn how to walk. I think you need to learn how to stride, and that's still a long way away.
Fluxu has opted to remain on the blue side, and they're going to open up the bans with Callista, gonna double down, definitely the most banned champ in CBLOL. And then 2 targeted bans at Robo, with both Jax and Rumble taken off the board. I specifically talked about Robo's Rumble today, and it feels like Fluxu did not let that go unnoticed.
I mean, there's still some picks, right? We were talking in the green room before the series started about maybe Cassante. He received some slight buffs, nothing like too specific, but it always feels nice if the champion remains stable and becomes ever so slightly better. Renekton is still up and available, and also Red Side is available. So it kind of feels iffy unless you have some very, very specific blind picks in your head to run away so many top lane picks if you will get counterpicked either way.
I'm scratching my head, Rev. I like Vi. I'm not on the Vi hate train like a lot of people are. I love a consistent point and click engage. But I am not first picking Vi on blue side. That's not a power pick. What are we doing?
I mean, you are giving so many options right now to Loud. Zaya is still up there. Seaver is still up there. I don't know. Like, there's so many things that Vi hates.
Like, I am seriously like just mouth open. What are we doing? We're blue one Vi, and then almost as if Loud said, "Okay, well, we know what you want to combo that with. We're just gonna pick it for ourselves." And they've got the better jungler, in my opinion, in Sejuani, because CB Lowell knows how to pilot a Sejuani. These guys know what they're doing with that champion. And I guess Silas is okay into the Ari. The abscond abduct means you are fairly just as mobile as she is, especially when you can steal her ult to become even more mobile. And you have good trading. Um, but man, I'm left a little stunned. I don't know.
I mean, I am very stunned right now. If the Loud wasn't full AP, I'd say that Gwen is an excellent pick here, but you can get so many auto attackers on the top side. Sejuani is such an weird pick because it enables laners that otherwise would suck. And I'm thinking about Irelia here. Aatrox is still pretty fine. You're still giving one more good ultimate to the Silas, but as Bwipo once said, he has one good ult, we have 5 of them, what will he do? And you have a pretty solid top side. You will probably have support counter pick as Loud, and I am feeling good. If I was a Loud fan, I would be feeling pretty confident right now already.
Yeah, we've banned out some top laners in the first phase, but then we've picked our top lane in that first phase, which has given them counter pick for both jungle and top already, and they still have that last pick too. I would assume counter pick for their support. Like, I feel like Fluxo is kind of drafting themselves into the paper bag. You know, people talk about, oh, couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. Fluxo's getting into it, I think.
I mean, there is that McDonald's meme, right? Especially when you're the first one out of the organization, and just put the fries in the back, bro. And it's a paper bag. We're looking out for the environment. That's fire. So that's they know where they are. They have the bag ready right now.
And now we see the ADC pool just annihilated as a Xayah ult followed by a Caitlyn and a I know her name. I know champions. No.
Kaisa maybe?
Kaisa. Oh my goodness. This is why we shouldn't cast before noon, because my brain doesn't turn on.
I mean, it's 7 p.m. here, man. I don't know what to think. I'm on my third coffee, and one of them was a double shot. Quadruple shot, because I drink cold coffees. Oh, we're gonna see the Lucian Nami.
Lucian comes out, and here's the thing: you can just pair it with another power pick if you want, but if you see the great opportunity for some great counter pick, you can still do it. Lucian with last year was given the buff to his passive that it works with crowd control in addition to buffs to his auto attacks. And so we are seeing Zeri with an enchanter, and we are seeing Lucian with an enchanter. We are in summer split of like 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I also hate Zeri into the Lucian Nami. Okay, Lulu is a fine duelist early on if the support player is experienced enough, because we've seen so many support players just pick those enchanters and sit behind their ADC, press W on him, press E on him, and just do nothing. But effectively, you are very, very strong early on, but you don't have the same sustain as a Nami. You don't have the same burst as a Lucian early on, and I feel like unless Marvin and Geeks are goated with the sauce, they just gonna put more fries in the bag with them.
I have seen a CBLOL Lulu 1v1 a CBLOL Lee Sin. It's happened. All right, I'll say it. My favorite player, Pro Delta, has done that. It's possible.
Yeah, I don't think
Fluxo W7M has got that kind of sauce, and maybe I am simply biasing in. I'm too tunnel visioned on the read I already have of this draft, but I just don't quite see the angle for Fluxo. I think in all stages of the game, they're kind of outmatched.
Yeah, the only silver lining I'm trying to keep my copium angle right now is that when your back's against the wall and nothing that you're trying to build up to become a proper team ever works, the thing you can do is always fall back to comfort. And we don't know. I myself don't know. I have some preconceived notions, but I can say that I went through all of those players' competitive histories for a long time now, and I don't remember, but maybe it's some very good comfort picks. And if they are able to somehow stall out the game for 30, 40 minutes, there might be an angle over here, right? Like Zeri can take over the game versus an effectively melee team. The only threat into her is going to be the Aatrox. I'm not counting the Lucian. I'm not counting the Ari. I'm not counting the Sejuani because cleanse is a given now. But if you are able to dodge away from any Aatrox sweet spots, you
Cleanse,
should be
cleanse
taking
is
over
a
the game.
given, and Marvin has taken barrier.
You're playing into the Nami, Anari, and Sejuani, and you playing barrier. Just survive the lane. I hate this. And also, you are now forcing geeks into just buying Mikals first. And if I was geeks, I would hate this even more.
Yeah, you kind of like get a lot of power when you have a big single target shield. There's a lot of power in having that early moonstone to effectively put this massive shield on two different people. Um, and now geeks really can't do that. I mean, maybe they will, but you're right. You really want that early Mikhail's Crucible, and the problem with like, okay, we're gonna stall it out for late game. We're gonna play around Marvin just taking over with Zeri, who will just absolutely out DPS Root unless Root is incredibly ahead. Once we're talking, 30, 40 minutes into the game, like you said. The problem with that is Flux's top side that they drafted is Vi and Renekton, who,
Yeah.
putting it mildly, suck late game.
I mean, they still have very, very distinct roles, right? If an Aatrox isn't fed and we're getting into the late game, the Aatrox sucks. If Renekton isn't fed and we're getting into the late game, you know that you have a very, very good space creator because you pop that Dominus, suddenly you have 400 more HP, you deal damage just by existing, and you threaten anyone trying to gap close into your backline with a point and click stun. Vi the same. You have the point and click stun. Even if you die, if you knock somebody up for a second, it's still a second that the enemy can't really control their champion. So a second that you effectively play 4v4, even if it's not 5v4. On the other hand, if the Ari and the Aatrox somehow, and I'm talking very hypothetically here, falls behind, what would you ever do?
See, and I think the same logic is you can go, well, they have their roles. And I actually like the Ari as
Ooh.
a space creator behind more than I like the Renekton, because yes, Renekton has the dominance, but you're required on that ult. If you're behind as an Ari, you can always just play the game of I'm going to be really annoying, and I don't have to actually kill you, but I will just sit there and threaten the charm. I will threaten the damage, as we're seeing a lot of health being traded on the top side. I will say, in lane, it feels like Hidan has had the better of Robo all day, which is not something you normally say.
I mean, I think it's also the jump wise. Usually, you think of the sign of somebody who will get Dolphin, but we are no longer in lane swap meta. And I always think that he's a lane bully. His base damage on the Q is absurd. The shred on the A is absurd. And now I think Robo will be absurdly dead.
Oh, he's able to interrupt the
Oh,
Vi's Vault Breaker. What a well played dive by Robo. He is able to completely keep himself safe and nearly pick up a kill off the ramped up tower shots. I wish that split second decision where he got the Darkened Blade to interrupt Vault Breaker, so Ganks had to walk up, which meant Hedon had to take more tower shots, and they couldn't pick up the kill. That was incredibly well played.
yeah. And also, there was no way to CC chain Robo over there, so that was excellent by him. If I was him, I would immediately turn on the Hidan, right? Hidan was there tanking up the tower. I'm like, okay, I'm getting the 1-for-1, but he knows better. A very nice dive dissuasion, let's call it like that, from Robo. He is the goat of the top lane, and he proves it once more.
Here comes the teleport. Hedon maybe looking to punish as he is able to get the stun down, but loses that trade overall. I mean, he stacks up the Fury, which is very nice, and the bubble will come out and miss. A heal used, a barrier used, and that is sums out on both sides, the heal and the barrier out from both bot lanes.
Yeah, I mean, the trade looks like it's better right now for Marvin and Giggs, but Road and Redbird need to be playing very short trades every time that Nami has those cooldowns, and every time that Road has access to the electrocute. That's how the lane is played nowadays. You don't win extended trades, even versus Azeri, as Azeri is playing with a lethal tempo and she's very, very agile. But you do tend to win on the long run unless the enemy team ramps up on any kind of sustain, which right now they don't really have.
We're going to see a lot more skirmishing this game as Hidan pops the Dominus, and all of a sudden, Robo's health bar is non existent. That is the power of the early game Renekton, and now Fu is going to be set on the back foot. First blood for Fluxu W7M. And that's kind of just what happens when you win that rush to level 6.
Yeah, it was Robo not counting the experience well. We saw Hidan dragging the wave when he came back from that failed dive attempt, and he had the upper hand. Very nice waving of the autotox as well. Look, the moment he turns level 6, ult into E, Q into the W, gets the kill. Very, very clean played. Denies a couple of CS as well from the enemy top lane, and now they have a very nice advantage, which for some reason excited Furia.
Furia just wants the level of competition to go up. I feel like Furia, I don't want to call them Goku because they're not going to win every time, but they have that mentality of like, I feel like they just want to fight. They want a worthy opponent, and maybe they're a little happy that Fluxu can turn on the Jets. What really well played. You talked about counting the XP. Hidan was already going in with Slice and Dice before he was level 6, and by the time he was on top of Robo, that minion had died to make him level 6. Just really expertly executed. This top lane is kind of a clash of the titans because I think I've said both of these guys have played a scenario particularly well already, and we are 7 minutes into the game.
Yeah, Hidan right now showcases that he has escalated his level of play at top side, and he's getting lane swapped upon, so he might be feeling a little bit of pressure, but Lucian still no level 6. Shinny is level 6, but I don't know if they have enough damage.
And no one was showing on vision. Here comes Shinny, the Glacial Prison. You're gonna try and do as much damage as you can. Hidan pops the Dominus. He's still alive. Redbird picks up the kill. That's not what you want. Ultimately, they do get the kill, and they will get to shove this wave in. But Hidan was alive for so long. And they gave the kill over to the Nami, who's... I mean, you're gonna get the first item earlier, so that's good.
I mean, I don't hate the first item Nami, but Redbird might be in trouble.
As all of that CC goes on to Shinny, but a great tidal wave and the bubble. Ganks takes a lot of damage, but they've got to get out of there because Marvin is there now. He's going to pick up the kill onto Shinny. He's going to try and maybe look for more, take this neutral objective if there's anything left. Yes, there were 2 grubs left when we exited the space, and 2 grubs is all you need, and that equalizes the feat of objectives. 1-1, 1 dragon over to Fluxu and 1 grubs capture over to also Fluxu. Never mind, that's the feat of objectives.
Yeah, they got it, and we see here a lot of crowd control layered onto Shinny. He goes into the tribus thinking he's safe, but Marvin, he just slides in, uses a flash as well just to make sure that he can get that kill for himself. But I don't think that's all bad for the side of Loud, as look at the top lane difference. It was 650 gold, now it's less than 200, and less than 200 means no component difference in that laning phase. So Robo must be feeling really nice, and usually I prefer my ADCs to get the kills, but in Enchanter terms, Nami getting some kills early on, I think it's the best case scenario. I don't know if you remember last time that Lucian Nami was played, Nami was getting the enchanted boots or slightly magical footwear just to sell them and get that item faster, because it's so important for you to have the Imperial Mandate. It accelerates Lucian so much, and the slow hits so well with your ultimate.
Yeah, it's a very, very important first item, at least as far as enchanters go. Some enchanters are very flexible. You can maybe pick up a Moonstone, maybe pick up a Mikhail's, but immediately rushing for the Ardent Censor is super important, especially now. If you recall, it was either last year or the year before when they shifted it from scaling damage to this flat amount of magic damage. And so it's a
Yeah.
much stronger item early on as the Glacial Prison comes out, and here comes the Tidal Wave as well. Everyone dropping ultimates and ultimately going to have to break away. Interesting kind of skirmish there. They thought they had to pick onto Geegs, but Marvin and Ganks there to bail their support out. As now we're seeing some fighting in the top lane, and this is what I mean. Fu is more mobile than Tinones because he's got Tinones' mobility ability right on him. He stole it. He's got the Spirit Rush.
Yeah, but he immediately used it, so he will not have it. While Tinounds, he's playing very, very patiently, still has access to that, and he's going with the old build, the nerf build right now, so Road of Ages will be his option. Not as strong early on, but he will be matching some of the scaling that Fluxo has right now. Also, very, very respectful on all the advancements that Fluxo are making on his lane. Prefers to drop a couple of CS, than to give that extra kill.
Yeah, they did specifically nerf Ari's armor, believe base armor and armor growth, so that the overall effective health is considerably less. The extra health that you get from the Rod of Ages doesn't translate as well when you have less armor, as Hedon's going to go in, try and look for another kill on the Robo. Both of them popping the ultimate, and neither one able to find the in to kill the other. Robo's just done defensively to keep Hedon off of him, and I like this aggressive play from Hedon. I think it's the correct play.
Yeah, he needs to pressure his champion advantage early on because right now he otherwise doesn't have really any advantage. There's a couple of plates picked up by Rob already. He was there when they needed him. He has the completed boot, so he's not under any trouble. And you need somehow to make him feel pressured, somehow to get yourself into even a slight lead, because 100 gold is not a lead at all. You're just playing an evil lane versus a pick that outscales you into oblivion.
Now both teams kind of back to our neutral here, just prodding along, seeing what advantage they can get, as we will not have Shelly spawning until 15 minutes now. A great charm from Tinones as he continues to back out. Fu misses the abduct, and that means nothing more doing.
Ooh.
Root goes in, but immediately Whimsied, sent to the polymorph dimension. You get to be a chicken today, sir.
I mean, it's so obnoxious, honestly. When Lolo can interrupt any ability that you have with just a point and click spell, it doesn't feel really nice. You can't really commit. You can't really dash in. But now maybe Luxo will commit onto T-Nouns as Ganks is there.
Ganks flashes in, gets the Vault Breaker, gets the cease and desist. Coming in, finally, Tino's able to use the Spirit Rush to get away, lands a charm. Now Shinny is following up, Root is there as well, and Hedon is coming up. They need to be careful. Here comes the Glacial Prison. It lands on exactly who they need it to. Root has to flee, and that means Shinny is offered up a pork banquet, a veritable feast for Fluxo.
And they get the Fit of Warfare as well, getting back a slight gold lead. And the only thing as a thorn in the side once again is the same man, Robo. Always patient, doesn't teleport in. He knows he's going to be more useful later on. Doesn't get the fourth plate, but gets so much gold for himself, and I think the first tower as well.
Yeah, we talked about the 250 gold, that slight gold advantage last game from the plate. 750 gold picked up by Loud, as opposed to only 250 from plates. And that just shows it kind of tells the story of this early game. Where Fluxo, they have more kills, they have more neutral objectives, and yet Loud still have the gold lead.
Yeah, Loud still playing very nice. Marvin goes in.
Huge damage. The ultimate comes out from Marvin, forces a flash from Root, but burns the flash himself. Or, I'm sorry, did not force the flash out of Root. Root was just able to dash away from that. That's actually a big advantage there. coming up into these next fights is that Root and Redbird both still have their flash, and Marvin doesn't have any spells at all.
Yeah, and it's way easier for Lucian to play those slide skimmers or at least poke you out without his ultimate than Marvin can play without his own. This area needs the ultimate to start ramping up that extra damage, that extra movement speed. Maybe
Yanks
Robo
looking to
is in
live
trouble
up to
here.
his namesake. Here he comes in with the Vault Breaker, gets good damage, but Robo has his ult, burns the flash. They're going to keep going. They're going to try and dive him. The chains come out. Chains of Corruption pulls Fu back, and they are unable to kill Robo. This guy refuses to go down, and in the top side, Loud pick up that cross-map value. They got Shelly once again, and we saw how effectively they used it last game. I assume they're going to do the same again.
Yeah, and Robo still has the teleport, so he wouldn't lose anything even if the wave was there. That's a very nice play from Loud as well. As you see, they're still lagging behind in kills, but they are ahead even slightly in gold. Most of the lanes are fine, and the only thing now in their mind as a Thorn is that maybe they will be getting outscaled in the car department. But with the Ari going into the Road of Ages build and the Silas not, I think that they're pretty fine.
Yeah, that's what I like about, even with the nerfs, the Roa build, what I talked about, being just kind of annoying as Ari. Almost playing as more of a utility caster than you are as a damage dealer. Ari still does damage, don't get me wrong, but being able to just stay alive, consistently threaten those backline carries with just movement and charms, it has a lot of inherent value.
Yeah, and also you're kind of a pseudo front lane, right? Or you can tank a lot of the damage that Zeri tries to dish out. You don't really choose who you're damaging with the Zeris, like the Ezreal situation. So in all those scenarios, the extra HP will matter, even if the HP is also nerfed, apart from the Aris armor. There is a little bit less early HP on the Road of Ages. You don't really care right now, because you know that you will survive, whereas the enemy is playing a risky game and might end up dropping.
Yeah, and look at that value Loud is getting off the map. They pick up the dragon to get the feat of objectives. They drop Shelly to get the feat of, or to pick up their second tower. Sorry, they already had the tower in the bot lane, so they will have the upgraded boots. They crack the mid lane turret. We know how important that is. Is now Shinny out of position, but able to get over the wall. A teleport in, but immediately a CC chain onto Fu, who gets bounced around. He has to go in now. He's using the Spirit Rush to do a lot of damage. Root is on the back foot, but here comes Robo to save the day. But he steps forward, and everyone goes on to him so much.
Oh, the charm!
Can he get out? He can!
He now still full HP, still 2 stacks, but he doesn't want to commit back to the tower. That tower will go into Flaxo's favor, who collect 1 more kill and a couple of summoners as well from the side of Loud. So Flaxo are still in. They're still fighting and kicking for this whole game, even if Loud seemed to be holding very, very firm the control of the game.
Yeah, overall, a kind of a poor mistake. Not necessarily out of character, but just not what you really want out of your jungler. A bit of an overstep, just kind of caught in that try. Even when they go over the wall, you're already so low. And the follow-up, Fluxo still had all of their CC tools available and just kept getting catch after catch after catch because of it. Ultimately, the fight goes their way, but Loud, I would say, still fairly firmly in control of this game. Even if they're behind on gold, the map state generally favoring them. They have, I think, a better understanding of when they can get onto and pressure these objectives. And Fluxo not really having too much ability to respond so far.
I mean, if at any point I would feel confident about Fluxo getting a map, I think that is the state, right? Because you are having a very, very strict plan. You don't have a lot of freedom in your plan. You know that you're just engaging on the target and you're allowing the Zeri to scale up and play the game. And right now, you're feeling nice. Zeri is getting closer and closer to the 2 items. You have the Mikkel's Crucible, and the Mikkel's Crucible saved Fu in the last fight as well. So it already proved useful. You do have the front lane. The front lane is doing fine. And even if you will get outvalued, you still have a very, very specific game plan that doesn't allow you to make stupid mistakes because you don't have a lot of options. So you can't really select the wrong option.
Yeah, midpoint of the game. We've got 5 minutes still till Baron is on the board. Otcon is coming up in just a few seconds, but we know teams do not like to fight for him when he arrives immediately. You got to give it some time before you're ready to take on that guy. And you did talk about the value. The thing is, as we get later and later, that front line for Fluxu, Hidan, and Ganks just slowly starts to lose value. That extra effective health they get from their various items, from their things like the Dominus, the healing, are not quite as powerful in terms of just being a frontliner, and solely that as Shinny is going to be with Heartsteel. So tanky and hard to remove. And that's kind of the value of having an actual tank on your team. And Fluxu doesn't have that. They're going to have to play really, really strongly if they want to make use of the tools. As we will see a Dominus have to get popped, and once that's on cooldown, not a tanky Croc anyways. And here comes a huge knockup!
Ooh.
Massive ultimate used on to Gank, saves his life, gets a massive knockup, and that's 2 kills for Fluxu, who, you said it, if there was a time for them to start making moves on the map, this was it, and they're going to go ahead and get that mid lane turret opened up.
Yeah, most likely they will not be able to do it in this push, but maybe they can, as Mikkel's Crucible saves for once again, and Geeks, maybe he's just not built for the tank meta, for the engage meta, because his Enchanter play this game has been nothing sort of spectacular, with Fluxo having, for the first time in the series, a solid gold lead, and they're looking to get the second Drake as well.
And now we finally see that opening up that mid tower offers a lot of control when it comes to these neutral objectives. You're able to kind of force your opponent to consider how you can flank them and what positions you're going to be in, and they're going to start up the dragon. They're going to burst it down. Loud looking for something on the tail end here, but not going to find it. Fluxu W7M immediately breaking away, and it's tied up 2 dragons to 2 dragons.
And this time Loud is doing the tourist objective thing. Instead of going to the top side, trying to contest the attack and trying to open up a couple of turrets, now they're trying to pressure Fluxo out of tempo and get just a little bit more gold.
The Glacial Prison comes out, but again, another knockup, but this time it does not matter as Fu falls very quickly. Fluxu on the back foot. Geeks used his ultimate there to no avail as Fu was massacred, and now Loud find at least a little bit of value on the backside of that dragon fight and cut that gold lead down to only 1k.
Yeah, that's a very nice return from Loud. They are still in the game, and they show that they know how to pressure on us. But take a look at how this fight started. Shinny, he thinks he's so tanky, he thinks he's so fine, but Ganks, he's the one ready to turn on the enemy team the moment they step on forward, and that 3-4 man ultimate from Giggs was so fantastic that there is no option for Loud to ever answer in that fight.
And the misposition comes from Root there. Unfortunately, you see him step forward, if only for a brief moment, but that doesn't matter. You can dash away. If Ganks presses R on you, he will find you, and that's what allowed him to get deep into that backline. And I want to point out, not die. Ganks hasn't died all game. 0, 0, and 5. Meanwhile, Shinny is personally taking a bat to my fantasy team, going 0, 4, and 2 so far here on the Sejuani, which is the champion I picked for him to get the points multiplier on. So I'm going to go cry now, Rev.
I mean, it's still all up for grabs, right? He may not look very strong at the moment, but the game is so wide open. The goal lead is literally non-existent. It's 300 gold, and we're 24 minutes in. So you're mostly looking at execution at the champion. And you've already said that the champion look more useful, generally speaking, as time goes on in the game. They have the clear-cut engages. They have the clear tankiness. So your fantasy still might be saved at the end of the day. And we still might see Loud take this W as the tier 1 in the bot lane drops for the second time, on Loud side in this second game.
And we're looking here. It really does come down to the ability to keep Marvin safe, as we see 2 full items, and the Executioner's Calling, very, very valuable in this game in particular, with both the Nami and the Aatrox on the opposite side. A good charm there from Tino's going to kind of try and just trade out some health. And we're looking for, can Marvin execute the team fight? And that, is a difficult question to answer when we haven't seen it so far. But if Giggs keeps executing the team fight, it might not matter. I'm kind of rooting for the Lulu here, because my goodness, that's a support carrying a game. Is we're gonna see the
they got
come
Giggs
out, and the Lulu, as if the caster curse couldn't get any stronger. The Lulu is gone, and that means Ganks is gonna go in a double kill for Root. And I'm so sorry, Giggs, I did that to you.
That's a caster curse if I've ever seen one in my days. The moment you hype him up, that's when he dies for the first time. Getting got out. Very nice pick from the side of Loud, who will collect 2 kills. They will get the Baron, and now Robo has to run away as Marvin is there trying to close out the distance.
Don coming in with the slice and dice, gets the stun down. Marvin is there. Doesn't have the E cooldown to slide and close it, so it's really just, can Hedon stall Robo out? And Robo, just with so much health, cannot be stopped. He's just going to walk away, and he's going to use his empowered back from the Baron and not really lose any tempo because of that.
Yeah, he broke their ankles as well there with that last Darkin slide or whatever it's called. And
Giggs.
The
charm.
He walks up for once in this game, and then the rest is history, as there is nowhere for Ganks to go. You also mentioned that Ganks hasn't died all game long, and now he's there just dropping immediately as Loud firmly grasps control of this game once again.
Yeah, the gold graph on this game is going to look like some insane roller coaster, as Loud was ahead by 2k, then Flukes was ahead by 2k, now Loud back up by 2,500, which is a little less gold than it seems at 27 minutes into the game. The real thing is that Loud, again, just taking control of these objectives, going to pick up a 3rd dragon ideally, but Fluxu maybe looking for a fight on the back end.
Let's see if they will engage. As Fu! He catches, but he didn't want that.
He got the abscond over the wall, but immediately has to leave as a lot of damage comes out on the ganks. Hedon has the Dominus Pop, but isn't in the fight. Where are you going, Hedon? Get a map.
Robo.
And here he comes finally on the flank. He gets in there. A huge slice of dice with the whole team, but immediately gets CC'd. The ultimate comes out to save Hedon, who was stayed alive for so long, but they cannot cut these tanky members of Loud. Tinones finds Marvin, and that is all she wrote for this fight. Giggs is on the run, but doesn't matter. A Darkin will beat a Yordle every time. Get him, Robo.
Yeah, there's nothing for you to do, as Loud may just snap end the game in a couple of minutes over here. They have completely rolled over Flaxo in this team fight, and they are showing what they are made of.
Yeah, I mean, it looked good for a second when you finally saw Hedon find that flank angle, get into the team, get damage down. You know, the ultimate comes out, Giggs is able to, hit him with the humongify, the whatever the silly thing Lulu says when she drops that ultimate, and maybe save the fight there. But by the time that has happened, look how long Hedon is just waffling in the jungle, and look how low the rest of Fluxu gets during that time.
Yeah, and they never get completely on top of Route. Look, he's still free firing. He just dashes over the wall, still can dish so much damage. Robo heals for 900 HP. And Robo hits all of those little silly angles with his chains or whatever it's called, beating down Yordles like it's his favorite thing to do.
Now, 5 members here at the top side. Fu doesn't know about, will finally find out about Tinones, and is going to realize he needs to acquiesce this tower. Backing away another tower over to Loud, who have 6 of them on the map. All 3 lanes have lost 2 layers of turrets, which, to the credit of Fluxu, does mean they still have all 3 inhibitor towers. There is still a fallback point, a defense to play around. But Loud now looking for this permanent buff, trying to go after the Otacon and cutting through it like butter. Fluxu maybe looking for some value on the opposite side of the map, but the Dragon's not up for 2.5 minutes, and so they're just clearing out a jungle, and for what?
Well, because they have nothing else to do. They can't really take any more advantages over there in the map. They can't really contest anything. They just need to wait. They need to wait out some of those buffs. But now Atakan is a permanent buff in Loud's pocket. So I'm not sure what's the angle here, honestly. If you're Fluxo, you will be getting better and better scaling from the Zeri, but he's a full item behind the Lucian, and the Lucian right now, if he doesn't get polymorphed, he will shred through your HP.
Yeah, the Lucian just Essence Reaver, Mortal Reminder. He's got all of these tools to just destroy. Let alone the big the big power item sitting in the first slot there. As now we finally got a skirmish coming out. Everyone going in. The tidal wave comes through and
he's still
provides
alive.
So much CC. Shinny is not going down. Robo is so low, but refuses to die for the longest time. But finally, maybe Marvin is online, has most of his health. Geeks keeps him active on the map. He's able to pick up 2 kills going the other way. So that fight ends up working out for Fluxu despite losing ganks fairly early on.
Somehow they won. Robo, he just lit the keyboard. He couldn't really do anything at all in that fight, and it wasn't his fault. So 2 kills going to Fluxo. They still keep some semblance of control. And look, Robo knocked up into knockup, into chains, into another stun. I don't know. He auto-attacked once or twice over there. Just perma-CC'd. T-Nons tries to do something, but Shinny, no matter how tanky you are, if you're getting hit enough by Zeri, you're gonna go down.
Yeah, Zeri is kind of at that point in the game, especially with the Runon's Hurricane able to kind of spread damage across the whole team. Even if you're not the direct target, you're still picking up damage, and so is able to cut through both of those tanky members of Loud. But still, Fluxu is able to find, some advantages in that fight, but there's nothing to get out of it at this point. They're so far on the back foot. They have no space to make, no objectives to take off of, that slight skirmish win. And, even plays are good plays when you're behind, but if you can't make anything off them, you're still behind is the issue.
Yeah. Now you might be able to make something of them. There's a soul point fight for Loud, who is in the flank, staying hidden, but they have snuffed out that something's going wrong. And simultaneously, there are some very, very strong minions hitting the front door of Fluxus base. But if they win that fight, they might be looking at the Baron angle as well.
Finally gets sniffed out. It's going to have to make a move. Uses the Abscond, Abduct, misses, pops the Zanyas, but immediately gets CC chained outside of it. And so he tries to buy time for his team to go in, but now everyone's just there. They have served up a buffet for Loud on a silver platter. He falls so low, and they are able to secure the dragon anyways. And that means Loud takes even more value out of this fight, is able to pick up the Mountain Soul, shields for the whole team. They're going to immediately run to the mid lane, run over to Baron, and secure even more tempo on the map. The damage from Marvin dissuaded Loud from pushing things any further, but they don't need to. Who's going to stop them?
Yeah, they're doing it now, everything by the book. They don't need to go overboard. They don't need to push in for the base. They've seen some EU games and how they're lost when you're going for the base a little bit too early. So they're getting the Baron. They have an 8.4k gold lead. Let's say again, because the moment Fu has been found out, he doesn't connect with the chains. T-Nons connect with a very nice charm. So now, on the one hand, you're engaging onto Shinny, who is a very, very strong frontline boy. And on the other hand, you're engaging onto Fu, who, although he has some HP to play with, is not really the tank you're looking for to tank all of the enemy backline.
And throughout all of that, Shinny is still able to get in there and pick up the dragon as well for the soul. There's one last Hail Mary play for Fluxu. It's coming up in 4 minutes and 40 seconds. We are talking about Elder Dragon here, people. This is the only thing that Fluxu really could possibly hope to play for. They need to stall as much as they can, and Loud's not going to make that easy. They still have 2 minutes left on the Baron power play. Out comes a tower, and again, Loud making the smart decision to just not overplay their hand. They're not going to try and look and force an inhibitor. They're going to push their lanes where they have advantage, and they're not going to overstep.
Yep. Slowly yet surely, 1 and 4, trying to just still a little bit trickle damage on the tower and on the enemy team, who has the glacial prison. He has some threat. Simultaneously losing. So, oh my God, Marvin, where did your HP go?
And they try to stop Loud from taking that bottom tower. Meanwhile, Tinones is taking the mid lane inhibitor, and they can't stop either as 2 inhibitors will fall down. And Loud is, are you sure this isn't the red side base? Because they are going wherever they want, uncontested. A teleport flank is coming out.
He dies!
It doesn't matter. That's the problem. You might be a late game engage button, but if you die before you get there, it's all over. It's a 5v4. Tidal Wave comes out and finds 1. Root gets a double kill. Can he go for 3? No, Tinones has it. They're going in. They are taking down everyone. A triple kill for Root. Uncontested 5-4-0 ace. Fluxu rolls over dead, and Loud to take this in a very convincing 2-0 fashion, which, to be fair, that's what we expected coming in.
Yep, very, very nice from Loud. They managed to come back into that game. Maybe the early game and the mid game will pick up some red flags for them, but they are back. They found those very, very important team fights, and they managed to secure a very, very important W in this game and in this series that will propel them to 1-1 in this group. Waiting to see which one of the Red Canids and Furia will drop the next series.
Yeah, and Loud playing into that middle of the pack. They've beaten a team they needed to beat, right? This is not a surprise really to anyone. This was kind of a must-win series, as you talked about, with waiting to see who falls between Red Canids and Furia. If they want to keep playing to come out, pretty highly seeded. They had to win this game. There was no question about it. Fluxu now down at 0-2. Their chances to make it out of group stage looking a little dire at this point. Ultimately, not a lot of surprises, but still a fun slate of matches. We saw some pretty damn good plays come out from both sides. You made fun of me for saying Fluxu could be playoff contenders. Playoff contenders really only means you gotta be top 6. Fluxu only has to be better than 2 teams, and if they continue to grow at the rate we have seen them grow during this split, then I think there's a good chance they could be playing for one of those bottom, outside looking in playoff positions.
I mean, yeah, they will not get eliminated straight from groups, right? That's the important part over there. They will be still playing for outings with the bottom 2 from the other group, which looks to be very cut and dry if we expect this Ancestral Leviathan to be there. Thing is, can you win versus 2 of them?
It's looking a little unfortunate. The chances aren't good. I'll say it, Rev. I will agree with you there. I don't know what the odds are. I don't imagine they're very high. But ultimately, you can't commend them enough for trying such a great effort overall. A lot of heart, I think, from Fluxu, and there's no moral victories in esports, but you can really call this a bit of a moral victory because Loud is scaling. That's the team I think people are going to now have to be a little scared of, because I think they're finally shaking off the rust. Their joints are a little creaky, coming out of the retirement home with their average age of like 27 or whatever. So
that hit me so hard.
So now, hopefully, Loud has kind of come back. They are coming into playoff form, and they're going to maybe be a little bit of a beast going forward. We have one more series, 2 more teams to battle it out today. I believe it is Furia and Red playing
Mhm.
next, and that's going to kind of be probably the most important match of the week. We talked about how Group A is very cut and dry, feels like it's decided.
Yep.
Group B is the we don't know what's going on. This can go any which way, and so I don't think you want to miss the next one.
hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I am FourY4. That is Red. Today, we've got FourY versus Red. After that shellacking that we just saw by Loud, taking it to FourY. I was hoping for a little bit more, but it was like you guys kind of said on the podcast, like, realistically, there was never going to be another outcome. Unfortunately, Fluxu still have a long, long way to go. But this one could be a little more interesting, Rev, but I think you pointed out, you summed it up very succinctly. Red have this big old stumbling block in front of them that they need to get over. They need to vault this stumbling block if they want to beat FourY. And the name of that stumbling block is Red Canids.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know how in other regions you have teams with the benefit of the doubt, even when they're slouching, like in Europe G2, even if they're in the middle of the table, you always think of them as title contenders in, I don't know, T1, in the LCK or GNG. It's exactly the opposite with the Red Canids. We saw some semblance of self-control in the last series. They were calm, they were collected, they were clean, but until they do it a couple more times, there's always going to be doubts scrolling in the back of my mind of, hey, I've seen them inting this 7 times out of 10, so I'm always leaning towards the 7.
Yeah. Three times out of 10 is just that's good enough in baseball, and in no other walk of life is that good enough. 3 out of 10. Ready to draft we go. FourY versus Red again. This is Fearless, so we're going to see. I think Mago is the guy that I've got my eye on as far as how many different styles of champions he can play. Tatu has filled me with a lot of comfort. Lock it in the MF here, but Rev, I wanted to ask you because we see no top lane bans thrown towards FNB. I guess technically that Yone ban could be, they could flex a couple different ways, but when you ban away the Rumble and the Gwen, what does that tell you about what FNB wants to pick?
I mean, the Jace, I think, is a pretty easy blind pick right now. But normally you would go towards a tank for FNB. So I'm not sure what exactly you want to play as a tank with the Lilia, as you usually are looking a little bit more of a skirmisher, something that will have some lane pressure so that the Lilia can access the river, get a couple of scuttle crabs, get a couple of extra camps in the enemy jungle. She's very, very fast in stealing all those little camps like the raptors or the wolves. So these kind of things don't really coexist in my mind. You can't really have a tank with great wave control who will be moving first and will have some good skirmishing. But maybe I'm just missing something and they will, I don't know, lock in the Cassandra and suddenly you're 3 waves ahead of a Jace, which should never happen.
No, it should not. No, and if BR Jace, NA Jace, is EU Jace a meme that no one can play Jace in EU?
I mean, anything in the EU is a meme for the last 3 years or something, so...
Fair enough. Wow! And now we've got Sion. And now here's the thing. Love your cat, by the way. What's your cat's name?
Yeah, it's Luigi.
Luigi! Yeah. Hello, Luigi. Yeah. You are wonderful. And I love you. Sion could go into the top lane, but... I think it will go to the top lane, but back in the day, Red Canids lore, the guy that was the starter for Red Canids in Split 1, Grevthar, he was a guy who played things like Kled and Silas, or or Sion rather. Like, he has a ton of weird picks, and Aegis and Grevthar, the Lilia Sion mid jungle was a thing that they played. If they gave this to Mago, I would be stunned. I think you give this to FNB, but we could go a couple of different ways with this. Like you said, right? You have enough damage, right? You have a skirmisher, you've got your big AD, you've got your big AP. The rest of it is just set up for this composition because Brunsey, God bless him on this misfortune, he's going to need a lot of help.
I mean, yeah, and Brunsey, he's one of the few misfortunes who are actually convincing for me. I think it's Brunsey and Titan. The rest are kind of iffy. I don't feel like they can do a lot of damage. I don't feel like they can find the angles, but even if you can find the angles, you're gonna need some help to keep the enemies there. Like the Lily Ultimate, the Lily Lullaby is an excellent tool because you don't wake them up, suddenly they hit your whole, all of your bullets in the face. But I'm still not convinced about the Sion because even if it's in the mid lane, and okay, there you can just clear waves, you're getting the whole Radiance, the Ari is no problem for you. What else do you provide other than a beefy front line? Can you actually find any other meaningful skirmishing? Okay, here it is. So here's a meaningful skirmishing, at least in the mid game, and that now makes a lot more sense as you are keeping the counter pick for support, but there's still some very nice options that can contest the misfortune, like I want to say the looks with the Caitlyn will be poking out, but then you'll be having issues with the Sion.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say Ezreal Karma, right? You could do something like that as well, but the Ezreal's off the table. Karma could be an option here, but I feel like you do want a little bit more frontline in this composition for FourY4. Actually drafted in order. Top jungle, mid bot support. So it will be the Jhin instead. Do you think there is enough damage in this Red Canids composition? I worry a little bit. Like, you've got 3 carries, but none of them are like you give me the ball and I'm going to dribble past 3 guys and put it in the top corner sort of carries.
I mean, there's no hyper carry
Yeah.
in the traditional sense, right? So nobody ever is going to be threatening the Sion, and if the Sion suddenly finds himself an extra 1500 HP from the Soul Furnace passive, he should be fine to go unless, I don't know, Ayu and his Jhin snowball into Oblivion. But the rest, I think there's not enough tankiness in the rest, and even if Rel is considered kind of a semi-tank, I think she's very, very squishy if she gets it once or twice from the Jace. I suspect a couple of cleavers will be built. Jace also goes in a kind of off-tank build nowadays with the, what's it called, Grasp of the Undying at the top side. So you're going Sojin, you're going Cleaver, all of those items that carry a lot of HP and they can actually lessen your resistances. So I think everyone else but the Sion will be dying pretty easily. But the Sion might be an issue if he can create space efficiently.
And that's going to be the name of the game, right? I mean, it always is with a comp that's centered around misfortune. And like you said, I trust Brunsey, right? In a very inconsistent Red Canids lineup, Brunsey has been one of the more consistent players. FNB had a good week last week. You know, if it's a bit like, I mean, FourY, I think, you know, I've changed my tune on this a little bit. I think FourY become a little more well-rounded, but I still do believe that Giga is their most important player in the sense that he gives them that extra dimension. And I think a similar sort of thing could be said about Red Canids, but like we sort of talked about, I feel like they're trying to, if we're talking about, oh, FNB needs to be more consistent, that is trying to run before we can walk with Red Canids. There are so many other things that they need to get straightened away. And again, I trust Brunsey, but I'm looking at guys like Mago, and I'm looking for FNB to be more consistent, right? But he's going to be on this Sion. And like you said, it is all about creating space. On the other side, Rev, this FourY composition, right? No true tank. It is just a lot of just straight up damage, and it feels like a comp that, I was going to say these sort of, you know, no tank compositions, they just want to kind of fight and spike in the mid game, but Jhin really doesn't do a ton in the mid game. Like you said, there's a lot of responsibility on Ayu to snowball, and then once you get into the late game 6 items, then Jhin can start ripping through some kids, but the mid game might be a little tricky.
I mean, I think that the perception on Jhin has shifted throughout the years. He started as this sort of assassin marksman where I will execute you, my 4th shot will just shred through your HP bar, my ultimate the same, but he's now more of a utility guy, right? You can contest most of waves in the bot lane, unless you're completely drafted in the support position. You can then influence fights from very far away, and even if your ultimate doesn't do damage, all that slow can be the setup that the Jhin Zhao need to just go into the enemy team, give that extra slow, give that knock up, and then suddenly the Ari charm, which is a kind of coin flip to hit, especially in the 0 ping scenario, becomes a certainty. So you can start getting picks and you can start getting that first pick, first serve team fight that the Ari really, really likes to have.
Yeah. It makes it a little easier to hit a shock blast, right? That has a little bit of splash damage, but yeah, I think your point is exactly right. The Jhin is there for setup. You hit your deadly flourishes. You put a trap in the right spot, and it slows down everyone just a little bit, just enough. But this bot lane could be active here. Frosty able to get onto Ayu. Blew his 4th shot. Now the Ignite goes down, able to cleanse it out. And actually trade back all right here. So 1 summoner for 1 summoner, but Ayu, man, yeah, Brunsey. I mean, I was going to say there is a little bit of poke in this composition. Brunsey obviously shorter range on the MF, but can still, if you hit one of those Qs, Frosty going forward with the flash. Q did not think that through, I don't think, but he blew Ayu's flash, so fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, Ayu very fast on the answer of the flash,
Seriously.
making sure that he is under turret. He is not under any actual threat, at least in this wave. And the good news is that Lilia is not much of a ganker early on the game. She really loves to power farm until a level 6 and just get some neutrals if they're free. So you're not under any significant threat of a dive. But 2 summers down on Ayu means that every time that the wave overextends, he's going to be in such an awkward spot. You can't really farm effectively. You only have 4 swords. The rest of your tools influence the waves in ways you don't really want to, because the bouncing grenade hits multiple minions, deadly flourish hits multiple minions, so you don't really want to be using them too much on the wave. You're going to be perma pushing, and Branson now finds himself in a very, very nice spot to start slowly bleeding away IU's resources.
Yeah, and the summoner spell advantage is huge, right? I mean, taking the barrier as well. So opting for something a little more combat oriented. Mago's got to be careful, man. Tuts has flash, could go for the all in if he wants to, but Mago has his as well, and he knows that. Down to 100 HP as the Make It Rain comes down there onto IU. Yeah, it's advantage red in this bot lane, but up on the top side, as both these teams vie for an undefeated start to this group phase. Up on the top side, it's been some fisticuffs, but no one really going for that all-in. Both these guys very content to scale in the grasp of the Undying there on Giga. Hold on a second here. One more auto might do it. Just barely escapes. FNB down to 12 HP. Barely got out of trouble there. My goodness. And no one there, unfortunately, in the jungle to respond. Now Age is coming in hot. Not much of a ganker pre-6, but he's sure as hell going to try. Jojo able to headbutt Frosty away. And that might be enough to dissuade the gank there.
Yeah, and the fact that he still has access to that pulverize means that nobody can ever collapse. If you get flash queued from the cow, you will stay under turret for just enough time to give away some very, very important kills. So now, you've shown where your jungler is. You're giving so much time and space to Jin Zhao to go in and steal a couple of enemy camps. Yep. And FourY4 must be feeling very, very happy with those slight incremental wins all over the map.
Yep, you hit the nail right on the head. Yeah, it's little things. Now, Tatu might be in danger of getting collapsed on himself, but Jojo might have bigger problems than that. The Ignite taking down, he should be okay here unless he gets hit by a rogue double up, but Brunsey low on mana, low on range. Tuts just ripping through Mago right now. I mean, Mago, yeah, he took the 400 gold to go into the tier, so he's not as strong in combat power right now. But Tuts, I mean, he's making him pay for that right now. Up 10 CS, took the Dark Seal, knows that he's the favorite in this lane matchup, and he's certainly playing like it right now.
Yeah, most lanes, like top lane, jungle, and mid lane are so much in FourY4's favor right now that there's already a 500, 600 gold difference, even with one lane winning without any kills, with just one plate, and that's absurd numbers. They could be the start of a very, very significant snowball, especially considering that Mago now, him having to reset, costs way more than somebody would expect, as he just used his teleport. So now with the tier, he goes, takes just the boots tier 1, that's nothing. There's 0 combat stats in his inventory, just some sustain, just some vision, just utility, and that means that he's going to be suffering from the Ahri, who goes back, gets a mana crystal. That means more mana to spend, more spamming in your face, more damage, but you're going to be slightly tanking slowly and slowly.
Yep, the Ruby Crystal as well, as Gio able to get a plate there onto FNB. Really abusing this matchup, like you said. It's things are going really well in the solo lanes, Rev, for FourY4. But that level 6, that's the key benchmark that we outlined, obviously, for Aegis. But for Brunsey, Frosty, and FNB, I mean, the game changes completely once they hit level 6, right? There is so much good setup for Brunsey in this bullet time, but you've got to get there right now. And to be fair, right, FourY4, it seems like they've kind of dominated this early game as much as you can, quote-unquote, dominate an early game to the tune of a 700 gold lead. But once Red Canids hit level 6, right, if they can get to that point unscathed, you're feeling pretty good about things if you're Red.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that you're feeling pretty nice as FourY4, because the more I think about it, the more I find solutions, even for that big lulling lullaby into bullet time combo that we were talking about. Because IU has the cleanse, right? So you can cleanse away, just run away, you wake up. Jojo has the Unbreakable Will, so you cleanse away, walk away.
Whoa, Frosty with the flash crash down immediately. Pulverized, I think, just saved IU's life. He's still got the heal, actually. If he wants to use a Deadly Flourish, Brunsey's going to sidestep it. If he hit that with the 4th shot, Brunsey was toast. He did have the barrier, so actually maybe not. Low on mana now. Jojo low on health as well. This one coming down to the wire, but we still might get no blood, Rev. Come on.
Mago is coming, so there's your blood, and Toots is following on his tail, ready to spend the ultimate the moment he sees the enemy Corki.
Ooh.
But there's still no first blood. Perfectly played from both of the support. Brancy still has access to that barrier, so was never in any actual danger, just was baiting around. Well, the bait never worked, but now Aegis might be in trouble. He's getting flashed on, immediately flashes out. A Tatu with a level 6, very, very strong.
Yeah, really, really strong early damage there on the Xin Zhao. Obviously, Mago going forward
Oh,
with the
1 HP!
flash! The rookie mid laner takes his talents to the south of the map and grabs himself a kill.
Oh, that's how bot lane is played. He screams at the enemy team, gets the first blood immediately. There's nothing that Jojo could do. He was so confident, just headbutt pulverizing into the enemy team time and time again. And now he gets punished for it.
All right, Mago. All right, I apologize. I was not familiar with your game. Very nicely done. Pulling something out of nothing and closing this gold lead just a little bit. And Rev, that's got to feel real good. I mean, especially we talked about it, right? Just so behind early on in those early combat stats, right? It's an investment for later, so it's not a sunk cost, but you're kind of recouping that gold a little bit in this early game, right? Jojo, like you said, just went right in. Mago said, dude, I've got ult, man. I've got a couple big ones waiting. And using the flash there, gutsy play by Mago, but it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, still full HP. The enemy team has no summoner, so no real threat for him. Now, he still has no combat stats whatsoever. He just has a Ruby Crystal, so that's 150 HP. The rest of it is very, very situational. So yeah, I can dodge away from a couple of orbs of deception if I'm not charmed. I can have an extra power dot attack, but his AD numbers are so low that right now it doesn't really matter. He's going to be just clearing waves for the next couple of minutes into the Ahri. But the Ahri is also just having a catalyst, just making sure that she's healthier, has the mana to spam, but no extra combat stats, no extra damage to speak of in her inventory so far.
Yeah, not quite. Yeah. Both these mid laners kind of struggling with that in different ways. That Rod of Ages build, I mean, it's really taken over the mid lane as it's become just a slightly more smooth of a curve for the build path. As Tuts, the charm doesn't land, so Mago going to make him pay for it. All of a sudden, taking the better of these trades right now as Gigo trying to get something onto FNB here. But Rev, on the other side of things, yeah, I mean, the objective's kind of coming up now. We'll see who's going to be first to them. No one's completed a full item just yet. For both these teams, like we said, looking for their first win. And it's been advantages kind of across the board. Well, I was going to say it was advantages across the board for the side of FourY4. But now, finally, we're going to get some objectives taken as Mago has equalized the gold. Brunsey always had himself a nice little cushion there on the bottom lane and set IU back just a little bit. Mago keeping Tuts locked under tower here. But on the other side, Tatu responds with some grubs.
Yeah, suddenly, I'm not sure if it's the level curve or it's the catalyst, but that Shin shouldn't hurt that much, in my mind at least.
Right.
But maybe I'm just delusional and caster low, so I don't know how these matchups are played. Now we might have a fight. Tatu, level 8, he will face check.
Yep. And IU, he's got to be careful he doesn't get jumped on here by Frosty. He's got the ultimate. That's exactly what happens. There goes the bullet time. Just rips right through. Tatu has nothing to do. Could not play the game. Uses ult for absolutely nothing. Swipes through the dragon. Does Aegis as well. He's pretty low, but he's going to take that dragon and run away with it for his team. Now Red Cadets coming out on top in this fight. One return kill there. On the other side, Jojo looking at Mago potentially if another charm lands, but not going to be the case. It's a 2-for-1. And with the dragon, Red feeling pretty good about this trade. FourY4 is still ahead, but Red accelerate their early game just a little bit.
The fact that FNB was so faster their play than Gigo meant so much, as even if Brance's ultimate didn't do any damage through the Crescent Guard, FNB managed to connect with all of that crowd control. They kept Tatu there, made sure that they can collect the Drake, they can collect the extra kills as well. So let's watch it again. Tatu feeling so confident, but he gets snapped engaged on. No time to pop the ultimate. Already half HP, and then Aegis. There's nobody to threaten him. Or when Jojo is threatening, there's nobody to follow up. Gigo so late to the play. Just another one for the grindstone. And Gigo didn't even take any place in the top side.
No, I mean, he grabbed a couple kind of early on, right? But still a couple minutes left to get another FNB. Not able to do much either, but I mean, as the Scion, you're not really expecting to come out on top in this matchup unless your name is the Baus. And even then, you're playing the long game a little bit. But Gigo is first one to a completed item in that matchup. And across the board, FourY4, they've got all of them completed items here. It's going to be a very tight window to fight with this advantage. And Red know that, right? They know that right now they're at an immense disadvantage. My goodness, Tuts takes away half of Mago's HP. Jojo shows up just too late. Excuse me. But the first one who completed item is Brunsey. Rushing that Bloodthirster, as is the case for MF. Rev, question for you. I wanted to bring it back to something that you said kind of earlier on. You said, tell me if I heard you correctly, that Bullet Time does not wake up through Lilting Lullaby?
Yeah, it doesn't. All of those challenging ultimates, they don't wake up even if you dealt so much damage. For some reason it doesn't. It's why this combo is being played. I think it also doesn't wake up through the calling, if I'm not mistaken.
That's crazy.
It is completely absurd, and that's why you're playing those kind of combos. So right now, if they find that angle, in theory it should be nice, but once again, I feel like in practice there's so many ways for you to get away. You see the sleep just dawning on you. Ayu cleanses in, Jojo cleanses out, Tattoo uses the Crescent Guard, and then if you're dudes, you just ult away, I guess, and then you're fine. There's so much space to be created, and you should never be in a spot where 3 or 4 people, or even 2, are in the same place, just getting ulted upon from a misfortune.
That is absolutely wild. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that as you were talking. I'm like, well, sure, it's got to be because of this. It's got to be because of this. But the tooltip just says, when awoken by damage.
Yep. But for some reason, it does. I don't know. It doesn't count. We might see this as a combo, but it is a thing. When I found out about it, I was as flabbergasted as you are right
Okay,
now.
good. That makes me feel a little better. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, the turret plating gold here is just 250 on either side. Actually, not nearly as much of an advantage as I thought it was going to be. Because I guess Mago, right, did his thing down on the bottom lane, right? Took his talents elsewhere once he got that little bit of a lead. But the CS discrepancy, I mean, in the top lane in the jungle is immense for FourY4, and that's where all this is coming from. Even though Red have gotten themselves back into this game just a little bit, Mago, man, just barely not able to hit Tuts. Yeah, we still haven't seen that big old combo. I mean, but we saw it kind of in pieces in that last fight for Red, right? I mean, you know, IU walked up just a little too far, right? They took that kind of segmented fight. Red committed to one side. They got the better of FourY4 here. But FourY4, again, just in their mid and late game, we talked about it. We trust them more. Red Canids, even if they are to get another successful couple fights here, unfortunately, even though this team has won 2 titles in the past with Aegis as their jungler, FNB is one of the better players never to win a title. Mago's promising. Brunsey has a title from Loud, right? This team has all the ingredients to be there. But I feel like the perception of these 2 teams could not be further apart in terms of how consistent they are.
Yeah, and it's what they've shown throughout the regular season. Like FourY4, when they find themselves in approximately that spot, like 15 to 18 minutes in, if they're even or slightly ahead, they know how to take fights, and now one is coming.
You're able to lock up Frosty, able to get forward there. Bullet time going in on Tattoo, but like you said, the Crescent Guard just completely nullifies it, and Frosty is left to the wolves. One more kill for FourY4.
Yeah, and IU needs to cleanse and flash away. So that's 2 summoners down, and that might be an issue.
Ooh, Deadly Flourish lands a CC chain onto Aegis. Absolutely lethal. The curtain call comes out, but Tattoo gonna grab the kill. Tuts keeping Mago at bay. A double kill for Tattoo as FNB gets ripped through on the other side of the fight. It's like you said, Rev. They find themselves, you give these guys an inch, and they take a mile. Just a really segmented, sloppy fight there from Red. They just get caught.
Yeah, they know exactly where to engage Jojo. He might be having fun in the lane if he's just headbutting left, right, and center. But when the important moments come, he knows when to engage and on whom. A very nice fight over there. And I want to comment on IU as well, as he had the patience to just keep the curtain call open, create space as well for his team, as you might not be having the greatest of front lines, but you have the tools that can create the space for you. And look, Frost is there, just engaged upon, so much crowd control. That's also coming with his ultimate, and nobody can deal any damage. Jojo pops the ultimate. IU has the summoners. Tattoo pops the ultimate, and Toots can just dash away right, left, right, and center. And you can't really lock them down with the wombo combo that you wanted to draft.
No, and I mean, we're seeing kind of what you said in action, right? There, it just seems like this FourY4 composition very well drafted, because you showed the Lilia so early on, right? And I mean, to be fair, yeah, no, it was before you drafted the Xin Zhao, and it was before you drafted the Alistar, right? And I mean, Cleanse isn't, some draft 5-head move, but like you said, there are just quite a few options to deal with this. When you show that Lilia early, there are more answers than I thought there were going to be, certainly. I appreciate you pointing them out. And again, it's just like, this Red Kittens competition has a lot of setup, for the ultimate, but FourY4 does have a lot of individual responses to it, and that's kind of the mini game that we're going to be tracking in these fights, right? Because again, you put all your eggs into the misfortune basket, and you're going to kind of live and die by this. Thankfully, Red, I mean, look, you do have Aegis. I mean, Aegis does a lot of damage, right? Mago does a lot of damage, so it's not just pure death if Red doesn't pull this off, but it's certainly a lot of things going to waste.
Yeah, thing is, like, the Lilia pick is excellent when you're playing into heavy enemy front line, because usually there are, those immobile slabs of meat that you can just dash away and prance around them, but there's nothing like that. If you go into range, you'll get slapped back. There's a Jace, there's a Xin Zhao, all of the champions that are not afraid to just initiate a slap fight. Now, Mago is in a very, very nice spot. Unfortunately for him, he's playing an mid-game assassin kind of marksman. It's not the traditional marksman that keeps on scaling later and later in the game. Doesn't really play the critical role that well as other might. So he might be having trouble.
Man, he gets jumped on immediately.
Oh no!
Tatu's gonna hop into the Herald. Curtain call popped. Gonna hit him, and down goes Brunsey. Immediately, Tatu pops a Crescent Guard to keep Aegis away from any shenanigans, and now they've got Red on the run. Frosty went too far forward. Flash, pulverize. IU with the deadly flourish, just as easy as you like. Getting one kill here, one kill there. It's death by 1,000 cuts for FourY4.
I mean, I don't have a house in my name, but if I had one, I would bet my entire house on the fact that Tatu didn't want to get into that Rift Herald. I think he wanted to auto-attack once more Brancy, but he got in the hell, he misclicked, and he's like, okay,
we're here now.
F this. Yeah, I'm just going to use this as an extra knock-up, just getting something back for myself. But once again, FourY4, they find themselves in the mid-game, They have a slight advantage. They know how to press on forward. And once again, they will be looking for more. Tats has the flash, and he's ready to snap with it if Mago overstays, he's welcome.
Yeah, Tatu, he's got a lot of damage in his kit right now. I mean, he's 4-1-1. He hasn't even, he's got gold to spend right now. So that Phage is going to turn into something as well. Tut's grabbing himself a second item. He's got the Dark Seal, a deathless game for him. Just another very steady game from Tuts. Grabbed himself that first Black Cleaver, like you said. Yeah, Tatu, tough to say, but I think you might be correct.
He had the third attack.
Yeah, no, you're right. The third auto from Xin. You're right. There's no way you cancel that. You're 100% correct. Yeah.
Oh my god! But yeah, it happens. Like you playing in arena, and those damn portals, they have such a big, whatever it's called.
Yeah, the hitbox, right?
Did he die here?
Oh wow!
Oh god, Mago getting the solo kill though. He's keeping his team afloat right now.
Yeah. No, he really is. It's been a really, really good game for him. I kind of identified him as potentially a weak link on this team, and look, one good performance isn't enough to change that, but Mago having himself a really quietly very good game, but like you said, the rest of the team is just kind of floundering around him. Now, Atacon spawning on the bottom side of the Rift, just kind of making sure that they have vision on it. Mago aggroing it, seeing what happens. No one really kind of in a good enough spot to pop it. But right now, some really big spikes coming through for FourY4. I think Red have to be very, very careful about the fights that they pick. Shojin Muramana, or Manamoon, I should say, for Gigo. Tatu's got the Black Cleaver as well. That will certainly help things out. IU grabbed himself some early armor pen, right? Grab the last Whisper here immediately. Going to build that into the LDR. Second item. They want to close this out.
Yeah, I think they are in a very nice spot. One good team fight right now can give him the whole game, especially if it's done in approximately 3 minutes, because then you have the trouble, right? You can threaten Atacon and threaten the next Drake, so you immediately eradicate for the next 5 minutes the soul point win condition that Red carry right now. They have this little thread. They know that FourY4 needs to be in the bot side river in 3 minutes time, otherwise they're going to be in trouble in 5 minutes. Especially, I think it's a Cloud Soul, if I'm not mistaken, and it's one of the most oppressive souls to be playing versus a Lilia, versus Sion. All of those picks suddenly become way more annoying to deal with.
And I think unless the tooltip on the top right is lying, it will be an Infernal Soul.
Oh yeah, it's Infernal. I'm also looking at a Cinder over there, but sometimes my stupidity is unmatched, so...
Yeah, join the club.
Happens.
Ultimate there just to kind of dissuade the wave and kind of prevent that mid lane tier 2 from going down. But it feels like a when, not an if. Well, actually, to be fair, they do kind of back off that. And Mago still having himself a great time playing a solo laner in the mid game, right? When you're behind, what do you got to do? You got to focus on the map, try to get advantages where you can on different sides of the map. And Mago He's definitely in the running for the ace, right? On OPGG, right? The best player on the losing team right now, if this does go Furia's way. Also, thank you for subscribing, whoever that was. I missed your username on the top right. I apologize, but thank you for supporting us. Join the Discord. That's in the description there on the Twitch. We are here every day that we can be. This is a volunteer broadcast, but we love this region. We love this league, so we're casting these silly games in this silly league because we love it dearly. We appreciate y'all being here. Thank you guys for participating in the Twitch chat. Like I said, join the Discord. Good multicultural, multi-country community in there. Join our fantasy league as well. Can plug all those things. We have a podcast once a week. It's on YouTube and Spotify as well. So plenty of ways to stay involved here if you are joining us for the first time or if you're joining us for the 1,000th time. We don't bite too hard unless you're into that, in which case we can figure that out.
Getting over there. But anyways, you can join the fantasy. You can also prove yourself to be better than SuperBren, because anything that he picks, for some reason, it suddenly flounders.
Yeah.
Anyways,
we've all been there. Yeah. Fantasy is harder than you think, especially this model.
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
It is. But anyways, Drake is up. It immediately goes into the position of Furia, who will most likely transition into the bot lane tier 1 tower, but there is some defense from the red cannons over there, as Frosty and Brancy are waiting out, making sure that any snub decision from Furia will be punished.
Yeah, it just feels like everything has to go perfectly for Red Canids here. FNB, he's got the TP, gonna recall first, grab himself some sort of component, and then join his team via the TP, it seems like. Yep, immediately dropping in here. Oh, ultimate burn there by Frosty. That is, that's going to be a tough one, because like you said, Frosty, he's pretty squishy on the rel. You're kind of good for one thing in the late game, and that is a big Magnet Storm, right? Crash down Magnet Storm.
Oh,
Charm lands there, threads the needle onto Brunsey. Not sure he was aiming for Brunsey, but he got him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He was aiming for Brunsey, of course. Mid lane.
I mean, Teleport comes in. They want to be looking for that fight. They are missing a very, very important ultimate, but the rest of the tools are there and available, and the lanes, the top lane and mid lane, are pushed into red side, so they are the ones constantly bleeding resources.
Yeah. No, it's a shame as the Baron spawns here. Yeah, it just feels like red. They're in kind of, they have one lane to play through right now, literally and metaphorically, and Furia know that so well. And they know that actually they can kind of play a fight backwards. They're ahead, right? If they get jumped on, especially with no ultimate, right? The engage is going to be more telegraphed, right? Like you said, there are big ultimates available, but Frosty with the flash ult, that's your snap engage, right? And that's just completely gone now. So Furia doing a good job of spreading the map and locking red into one course of action here, right? You've got to pick, and now they pick defend the mid lane tier 2, but again, too little too late. They're just trying to stop this push, and now Furia have completely seized the momentum, and now they jump onto FNB here. Frosty looking for something on the other side. Gigo jumps in the air, does arcane things. Jace in the back line, and the bullet time gets interrupted immediately. They get nothing out of that. It's all going wrong for red, but the health bars aren't looking too hot for Furia, to be fair, and now they're on the retreat here. The charm lands there, and deleted is Aegis. Doesn't get much out of the ultimate as well, and we've got to pause. Honestly, fair enough. I don't know what went wrong there, but that was a weird looking fight.
It was, but I think it was just Furia team fight masterclass. They did use resources on the tank, which is usually not what's what people want to do. They just want to keep everything until they find the perfect target. But no, they know they have enough time. They know how to play this. They know where to space. You saw how useful those ultimates were, and how much space, how far away can Ayu interact with the fight. Gigo knows where to go in, when to go out, and that's also, you saw him getting bullied in the whole of the mid game. But now it's his time to shine.
Yeah, he's been hitting these charms pretty good. I mean, with the headbutt pulverizer, that can be a bit of a tougher engage to land, right? And if you don't do that with the ultimate, you are kind of, again, you are just in a mobile slab of meat. Well, you're very mobile, but you're like the thin kind of strips at like Korean barbecue, right? Like the skirt steak, sort of. Like it's very, you're not like this big fillet, right? That you get to just sit there slow cooking, right? Get it to the perfect temperature and crispiness on the outside.
I just got hungry, by the way. Thank you.
No, in between games, I've got my protein bar here for later, because I'm starving. Right, I did not manage my time well this morning. I woke up, I did something I had to do for work that I completely forgot was due at 10 a.m. my time. So I woke up just kind of like, when you woke up and you're like a little sleepy, but then you remember there's something you forgot to do. and all of a sudden the
Yeah.
energy floods into your body, and you don't need caffeine, you don't need nothing. So that's what happened to me this morning, and now I'm here. I submitted it 5 minutes before I went on air, so yeah,
So 4 minutes too early, it seems. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was completely in the opposite position. I had like my whole day free. I was just playing, and those days happen when you get all the munchies immediately for some reason.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
And what I do sometimes, it's a very, I would never suggest it to anyone, but I do go through my daily caloric intake in the span of like 2-3 hours. It's, and then I have to try and keep myself from overeating, and it usually doesn't work. So yeah, that's go me.
Yeah, I get that. I used to. So I have ADD, and I used to take drugs for that. But we'll get to that potentially later. I'll tell you my story. Charmlands again by touch just rips through Frosty. You'd like to think he's just gonna go down here. You can't get close enough here. He gets a little bit of a shield with the crash down, but Tatu going to work on this Atakan, able to smite that down. Frosty taken very, very low, taken completely out of the fight. This is a 5v3 if they want to go for it. Tuts again with the flash charm. He is absolutely money on these. Doesn't even need the setup. He is the setup. F&B doing all he can to save his teammates. Into the passive he goes. Tatu having an absolute game on this Xin Zhao Rev.
I mean, the whole of Furia, right? They're playing calm, they play collected, they don't overforce, but when they find the angle, that killer instinct, snap engage, comes through every one of them, and that almost 6k gold lead is the most deserved one I've seen all day. Now, with the Atakan in their pocket, there's only one big neutral objective on the map for the next minute and a half, and they start looking at it.
Baron up. Frosty was able to get out somehow, some way. Actually, maybe he died. I don't even remember. But point is, he's able to get a little bit of vision down in their own jungle, get a ward down into the Baron pit. Kind of. Not really. Didn't get into the back of the pit. Got it like off to the side a little bit. I don't even know if they technically have vision there. Okay, well, it's blocked out by a control ward anyway. But, I mean, FourY4, they're in complete control of this game. This is exactly what we envisioned, right? Right when they got that initial lead. Let's take a look at this fight before we kind of talk about it a little bit more. I mean, Tut's just hitting charms like crazy, man.
Yeah, and they're playing it slow. They could just collapse on top of Mago the moment they see something something hitting on top of Brancy, but they're spacing out their spells. They know that they don't need to overload onto anyone. They know that there are multiple targets that need attention, and all of them get the attention they deserve.
And
I don't know, might be in slight trouble, but I know he's way too tanky. He's level 16.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah, he's thick with 3 C's and a Q. He is enormous right now with that Sterix. Oh, I mean, that's just the cherry on top, right? It's kind of the 1-2, the Sunder Sky and a Black Cleaver, right, in some order. That's a pretty standard kind of bruiser tank build path. Once you get that Sterix going, and you just get so much more value, right? Because with the Xin Zhao and with the Vi and stuff, you're a bit, unless you get like a crazy lead, which look, Tatu, he's got 8 out of 9 total participation. This wouldn't really be the case for him, but I feel like unless you get that Sterix, you are a bit of a one-button Boris. You get in, you press your ultimate, you buy space and time, right? Which is valuable, but you're not there to rip through anybody. But right now, he can stay alive for just so much longer in this composition. And you talked about it, Rev, with the Jhin. You are utility 80 carry. 007. Beautiful.
Yep. He has a license to kill, so now I expect him to get the first kill of the game.
I set it up. I was going to see if you're going to do anything with that, and you did. Well done.
Thank you. But yeah, let's see if they will be able to do anything. I know the Baron Nashor is a very hard objective to do with ADCs like the Jhin. They don't really have a lot of DPS, just some burst damage, so Furia might be looking for a teamfight or two before that, but if Red are just AFK in their base, just collecting whatever is left there for them, just for the Lilia to scale, they might be in trouble, because slowly yet surely, all those extra incremental increases in both AP and AD are stacking up with those Infernal Drakes.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you pointed that out, because, yeah, it's completely stopped the dragon stacking, but not only that, it has pushed them forward a little bit with these Infernal Dragons as well, right? That's going to help just that little bit to, take down the Baron or just make these team fights a little bit easier. Not that I'm worried about FourY's team fighting right now, because they have done nothing but give us reason to trust them. And again, it's a bit of a microcosm of this team. And the recall, or the teleport, I should say, got off just in time. Not interrupted there as Tut's able to get into the mid lane. Yeah, and now FourY have made an earnest push. So now they've got somewhere to go. Gigo able to put down the warp gate there to dodge that Scion Q. As Gigo, okay, oh, never mind. No flash. But I thought flash was burned for some reason. I'm getting old, man. But now FourY4.
No, FNB was the one burning through his ultimate to escape from a play in the middle lane as well. So a teleport for an ultimate, of course, teleport way longer cooldown. Now that's will have to be a little bit more wary. They can't spread them up too thin. But they're still waiting. They're still patient. And I'm not sure when the next play is gonna be if Red isn't just gonna face check them. There's nothing that they need to play for bar this Baron.
Yeah, no, the rest of the objectives are just getting taken from under their noses. FourY4 doing a very good job of playing the map, but like you said, you have to worry about not spreading them yourself too thin, and you don't have that consistent damage just yet. Now, everybody has hit level 16, even IU has, right? Everyone's on 3 items. The death cap has come in for Tuts. Right about now is when you could kind of look back and say, okay, now I think we should be able to rip through this Baron. But you can see that FourY4, they recognize the limitations of their composition. They know that you kind of need everybody there, right? Jojo, he's the only one that can really bodyguard, right? Because you kind of need everyone else all hands on deck to take the Baron. So FourY4, I think it's exactly what you said, Rev. They are looking for a pick. They're looking for something before they start this Baron up because they know they don't have the damage to just snuff it out from under Red's noses, despite the advantage that they have. FNB steps on a trap. Frosty going in there with the Magnet Storm, but it's going to take a lot to kill Tatu, but if no one's there to back him up, they could be able to get away with it. Burns ult, Burns flash, Mago goes forward, bullet time wasted, but I understand the desperation there. And now Red, with a rare mistake from FourY4, they pull the trigger and they get the better of it.
Gigo still has access to the teleport, and he can still take that bot lane tier 2 very, very easily, so I think they're fine. Frosty needs to flash away.
Tuts is caught in no man's land here, but opening the curtain call is IU looking for his first kill of the game. Here comes Giga with that teleport like you were saying, Rev. In goes the Shock Blast, flips into the Baron pit and rips through Tuts, or rips through Aegis, I should say. And with no smite, everything comes down. The House of Cards hits the ground. A double kill for Tuts to wrap it up. 4 for 1. Tatu perfectly happy with giving his life for that as FourY4 run riot over Red Canids. It's an ace.
I mean, sometimes you need to sacrifice a pawn to get the enemy king, and maybe Tatu had the 5-head play. They knew that they had control of the map. The perfect play would be to wait for Gigo to connect to the tower, and then you try and force it. But that also works, and maybe that's the end of game 1. 33 minutes is a long time, but FourY4 made it look clean.
Yeah, it was never really in doubt. That's the thing, right? It was very methodical, right? Okay, maybe they didn't close out as quickly as they wanted to. Flash Charm just to pad some stats. Get 2 aces in 1. As Tatu, I don't know if you saw in his player cam, right? I mean, he had already taken off his headset. He was joking. He was kind of pointing at himself like, yeah, okay, I died. Whatever, right? It was all part of the plan. Haha, guys. But FourY4, I mean, like you said, Rev, it was clean. Front to back. There was never really a doubt that they were going to win this game from when they got that first little lead, that first little fight in the kind of the top, like, you know, the mid river, right? That brush. It was going to take something really, really dramatic one way or the other to flip that game.
Yeah, and the script is becoming very, very repetitive because it's the same thing all over again. If you're not in a great deficit as they were in the regular season, or like the positioning phase versus Red for the first 25 minutes, it's exactly the same time frame. 14 to 19 minutes in, they find a fight over an objective, they win that fight, and they start a very methodical snowball. Time and time again, we're seeing the exact same things, and teams are falling into the same trap, and I'm not sure what the exit is from the trap. Is it to just not fight, not exist in those 5-minute period, or is it to find a way to completely overload FourY4 in the early game?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it is just you have to get some sort of advantage in the early game because FourY4, they've done a really good job of not giving Red any windows to punish, right? Their vision setup is very good, right? Their map positioning and their lane assignments in the mid game are very, very clean. They seem to have immense self-awareness about how to play their composition, right? And their strengths and weaknesses. So I don't really know what the answer is, but FourY4 certainly aren't giving you any clues about what the answer is. For Red, I don't know. Any notes? Good game from Mago, but again, it just feels like collectively they were kind of they were playing with an elephant on their chest, right? It was going to be really, really tough for them to get back into that game.
Yeah, they were completely at class team-wise, so I'm not sure if you can just pinpoint the blame onto anyone, but maybe the only thing I would say is don't give FNB a full tank on and counterpick yourself. because otherwise you might have that X factor. Even with the Azir or whatever, you can scale up. You
Mhm.
have some playmaking. The Sion is pretty telegraphed, especially if you counterpick yourself.
Well, we won't have to worry about Scion, Lilia, MF, any of that nonsense in game 2 as we go on to this best of 3 Fearless. We'll be right back. FourY's trying to close it out and go to 2-0 in the group stage when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. 4x4 and Rev here with you for Game 2 of this Fearless Best of 3. Man, I've come a lot more face-to-face with my own mortality as I've gotten kind of to the wrong side of 25. I'm 28 years old today. Not today. But
I'm 30.
You're 30? Okay. All right, you get it. Okay.
Why are all of my today's partners really dunking on my age like that? Like,
That
it
was
was
unintentional.
Bren who said something like, "Oh, the retirement house,"
I mean,
with an average of 26, and now, oh my god.
that's how it goes sometimes, man. But yeah, I'm noticing it in my casting too. Honestly, I don't know if it's like you just notice that I'm just a little bit kind of slower than I used to be. Things aren't going as. I just assume, Rev, that everyone is younger than me, which. Not the. I mean, we've got an older crew here. I think, yeah, Soph is 28 as well. I don't actually know how old Bren is. I'm assuming he's a couple years younger than me. RMC is, I think, 31. Trajan is 30.
I think he's like 34.
Who is?
RMC.
RMC 34. Wow. Okay, if he's 34, then yeah. So we're this is the retirement home casting community. We're glad you guys are here. Speaking of retirement home, yeah, but the reason I mentioned that was because I looked over to my other monitor where I've got the LTA South stream going. Aegis, I remember when he came into the league, just a fresh-faced baby boy, and now, I mean, he just looks so much older than he used to. It is remarkable, and it just reminds me how long we've been doing this since 2021. But Rev, back into this series again. FourY4 just played kind of a clean front-to-back game. I'm curious to see how Red are going to tackle this, next time around. We looked at the damage charts, or I did on the other side. Aegis apparently did 8,000 damage last game. That is a rough one, and it's easy to kind of just, lay the blame on him, being on a champion like Lilia, where you're supposed to just kind of do damage without trying. You throw an E out, you throw an ult out, right? You should just trip over some damage, but it's not quite that simple.
Yeah, I mean, if we are going to single out any member of Red's team, I think the blame should go towards Frosty, but he was also set up for failure from the draft itself, because I remember very, very clearly that there was there was an Alistar pickup blind because they knew that there was some engage lacking on the side of Red, and Alistar is an excellent disengager, and the moment that Jojo actually started taking the game seriously, you saw the difference. It was night and day. He stopped like headbutt pulverizing into anything he found in his way. He started just initiating for fights, and from this point onwards, the game was kind of unlosable, I think, for FourY4 because they know how to play fights, and because they draft just better.
Yeah, it was a really good just front-to-back game from FourY4. I don't expect a lot different this time around, and I think, Rev, do you think it just like we talked about? Okay, what could the answer be, right? Into FourY4, is it just try to blast them in lane, right? Just try to really destroy them in lane, go into the mid game with a lead, so that FourY4 don't have this liberty to fight you 24/7. That's kind of where I'm leaning, and because they have skilled laners, right? We talk about, okay, maybe don't put FNB on a tank. He can play carries. He can go toe to toe with Gigo.
He can, and maybe he should, because the Sun here was fine, but nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
And if you want to beat FourY4, you need to be more than fine. You need to be kind of dominating the game at points even, and this never happened in game one. So maybe try and underhand them, try and find something weird. Talking about weird, I'm not sure if Lucian Nami insta-locked is the kind of weird I'm looking for.
Well, that might be what we're getting, and look, you want to go with something lane dominant. You want to go with something that you can be oppressive with, but it feels like it's tougher into the Ashe. Am I correct in that assessment, or is it just too strong?
I think it's fine. It really depends on the support matchup, and I really like that they didn't lock in the Nami right now, because there's also the Milio and maybe even the Braum as an answer. Because Ashe Nautilus, it can kind of ruin your whole day if you're playing into the Lucian Nami. You just capture the Nami doesn't exist, you can continue with your day. But what else can you play with the Lucian? Okay, now you're locking the Nami, and now I think you just deal away with the Nautilus and maybe the Leona, because Alistar, I'm pretty sure Alistar and Rel are off from the Fearless format. and then you should be kind of fine. You're kind of forcing Ash to play with some sort of okay, Emilio then, and just deal with the Nautilus. I don't want to see the Nautilus here.
Yeah, the Seraphine band away. Give him that respect to JoJo, I guess. I mean, he has played that before, so not going to be the case this time around. Tut's locked in the Rise here. I suppose that could go into the top lane, but I think it will stay in the mid lane. Taking away the Irelia from FNB. He's got that in his pocket, but I did not expect just a straight-up ban to come through here. Karma being taken away as well. So, again, you've got actually more options than I thought in the bottom lane open for JoJo.
I mean, I think the Irelia ban is for Mago, because he used to be an Irelia player in solo queue, and also you're playing with the Sejuani, so it's a very, very nice combo over there, especially into the Rise, who you can just kind of ignore his range, ignore the slow, he needs to fully commit, or you can do he cannot do anything on your with the W, you just dash away anyways. But still a lot of supports open there. Maybe they will lock into the engage and try to fully win out the lane, but maybe it's just Emilio angle and you're trying to get away from any crowd control and outrange the Lucian.
Well, speaking of outranging, you do have the Zoe now locked in for Mago. And, I mean, this is a hard carry champion. You've got plenty of damage on the side of Red Canids, and there's that Nautilus on the other side there, Rev.
Yep, there's a Nautilus. I mean, it's a high risk, high reward kind of play style. If you can catch the Nami, you're one of the best counters, right? You're playing with the Aftershock, even if the Nami kind of finds the angle on you and gets you with a bubble, you don't really care because you've already done the job. You are there, you can tank almost anything, and the Nami can't really survive the oncoming onslaught of the arrows in the range of focus. The Lucian early on the game can't really deal enough damage. You need to get yourself slightly ahead in order to do that. But there it is, a more creative pick for FNB, something that can scale, something that can match Gigo later in the game.
Have I been muted? All right, there we go. Sorry, all right, we're back now. Sorry, I coughed a lot. What I was saying is, don't play Furia's game, right? Don't play their kind of methodical, slow game. And Red, with this composition, that is absolutely not what they are doing. They are playing kind of balls to the wall. We want to get an advantage in this early game. It could all completely go sideways, but I trust. My issue with Red has never been, can their individual players perform? Can their individual players kind of, hit a requisite ceiling, be good enough, right? The talent level on Red, it's can they do it at the same time and can they do it in a cohesive manner, right? That's always been the rub on Red. Rev said it when we kicked off. Their greatest opponents, more times than not, are themselves. But I think they've given themselves a really good opportunity here to take it to Furia in this game too.
Yeah, and the thing is, how much can you stop yourself from going too far? That's a big question for me as well, because this is what they've been doing, and they've been getting punished time and time again. They've been going too far. They've been having those advantages, and then more times than not, they just overstep. So can you stop yourself from doing that? Can you find the angles and then play slow, play methodical, play, well, more or less? Can you play the Furia game?
Yeah. We will find out. Red Canids giving themselves a lot of tools to buck the trend here and try to prevent themselves from going down 2-0 to Furia. Furia would be jumping out in front of this group. This second group that is, I think, a little more interesting. It really was always going to be, for me, Red and Loud fighting for second place in this group. And again, if you finish third and fourth in the group, right, it's a single round robin, best of three. Even if you finish bottom three, bottom four, you don't get eliminated. You still get to play one other match, another fearless best of three, to see who goes home. If you finish, if you finish third in your group, you play the fourth place one from the other group, and vice versa. And the winners of those matches go into playoffs. But you're in the 5-6. You're in the losers bracket already. So if you finish first and second in your group, then you go into the winners bracket. It's just you're playing for seeding. So you will not be eliminated unless you play 4 best of 3s at a bare minimum. But if you do, then yeah, your season is over until June, which is or maybe even July. It could be a long, long time before that gets going again. I want to talk about this Rise a little bit. It's been, I don't know, in the circles that I'm in, it's been a bit of a controversial pick in terms of just how good is it actually. What has popped it into prominence? Is it just the Rod of Ages build, or did you get some buffs that I missed?
I mean, Road of Ages is fine. I think it's more than the Road of Ages is the picks that the Road of Ages buff brings into prevalence as well,
Yeah.
because it brings all those mid-range mages that can kind of they deal a little bit of a burst damage, but not enough in order to threaten you immediately. And Rise, he really rises to the occasion when
Hey.
you're playing slow and long fights.
Yeah. Yeah, these very drawn out fights, absolutely. Yeah, my two of my favorite champions back in the day. One of them still is Ryzen and Nivea, big Rod of Ages enjoyers, but it's exactly like you said, just these mid-range sort of, these mages where you have to get up close and personal. Jojo, immediately level 2, jumping there onto Brunsey, cleanses out of the root. And I and Jojo with an early advantage early on here. Not at all how they wanted the lane to go, but it's far from disaster here so far.
Yeah, so far, that's that's what we need to keep in mind, because it's also a very nice start of Furia, right? They got the Nautilus, we identify the angle, and they know how to pressure. Lucian Nami, everyone thinks of it as this big pressuring lane, but in reality, it starts popping up after level 3, and usually close to the 1 item spike is where you really start looking to punish the enemy team, and they're nowhere near any of those so far.
No.
Okay, maybe near the level 3.
Yeah. Yeah, actually kind of, on similar trajectories here. I think it still seems like Jojo and IU, based on the experience bars, are a little bit further ahead, but should be relatively even. Yeah, it's hitting your spells, but level 3, once you can get kind of that full combo off, then it gets really, really deadly. Yeah. Mago, meanwhile, had himself a pretty good time here in the mid lane, but Tuts is trading back very nicely. Can throw down all those summoner spells with the W. Ken Mago took a really nice chunk out of Tuts with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble into Paddle Star combo. Rev, any insights on this kind of this Zoe pick, and maybe any insights on, okay, why pick Zoe specifically, or, well, okay, but you're just gonna die?
I mean, I think you just pick Zoe because you want to execute somebody from far away. Anyone that you can deal a lot of damage, but I haven't seen Zoe in quite some time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how good it actually is in this scenario, and if we take into account any recency bias from what we just saw, it's not the greatest.
But that's only if we take the recency bias into account. That's the thing about recency bias. You're
But
supposed
I
to
will.
filter through that. Rev said, absolutely not. I am biased as hell. Brunsey in a little bit of trouble here. Low mana, but Ayu gets lethal tempo up. Can't return fire enough. Age is able to walk away with a kill. Little bit over eager. Arfuria and Mago. He could be able to. Oh, gets the Sleepy Trouble Bubble down. Flashing over. Gets the flash off as well. Paddle Star from downtown. Mago has completely redeemed himself in the eyes of Rev.
Oh, that's an excellent angle from Mago, but Tato is looking for more.
Brunsey has to flash away. Frosty has to flash away as well. They still might get the kill here, but it's going to cost them a lot. Brunsey goes down, and Age is here to save the day. Finally, Tatu might have gotten 2 out of that.
Oh my god, that's... I don't know what's going on over there, but it's a lot. And Red, they are the Chaos team. They are the one thriving in that. But once again, Tats, he's chilling in the mid lane. He's just farming up. And he's not that far behind the Zoe who needed to move all that way.
No, he's completely even on gold, in fact. Mago feeling pretty good about himself. Got himself a Dark Seal. Attaboy. Yeah, he's not affected by recency bias, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see who's right.
Yeah,
who's
that's a different question. That's a different question. Who's right?
I think he's going to be right, but that's fine. That's fine. So far, he hasn't won, so I'm getting that as a huge W for me.
Yeah, so we'll see who wins, one Zoe or one Rev, one 30-year-old caster. IU stepped up just a little bit too far. Sorry.
Am I getting attacked for no reason at all? But yeah, IU stepped here. The flash didn't help him a lot. He just wanted to see if Mago will not flash behind him, but Mago has no issues doing that. Tatu getting a couple of summoners more. Brunsey will end up dropping from the red buff and the passive, but Frosty He's just barely dodging away from that rock.
Man, that was really, really close. I'm not sure what BLZ's telling the rest of the coaching staff there, but all smiles so far. As look, things haven't gotten disastrously in the early game. You're feeling okay about yourself. The only place where we haven't gotten any sort of shenanigans is in that top lane. Well, I say that, and here comes Aegis. Gigo went into the Executioners very early here, flash E to get out of trouble. And fair enough, into an Aatrox, that's not a bad pickup, but into the Nami as well, just pretty much negating anything that she's going to do.
Yep. Now, that is looking for more and more. Wait, there's a Dominus ult, but we're looking at bot lane.
Yes, we are. Gigo has hit level 6, and he gets a ton of healing out of that. Yes, he does. Aegis goes down without blowing the flash. FNB blows his to get out of dodge. Tatu, right place, right time. FourY4 equalize it.
Very nice answer over there from the FourY4 duo. Gigo making sure to spend the flash immediately to get all of that crowd control. Get one more kill in their pocket. They might not have the Fit of Warfare, but they have a slight gold lead right now, and they're looking to keep on pressuring. Just, if that hit, that would be very hard to deal with.
Brunsey going in, trying to get the full combo down. He gets the Ignite on him, not able to get rooted. IU with just enough sustain in his pocket. Brunsey blew the cleanse, but that's about it. Small price to pay for a little bit of a lane advantage. They're able to equalize the state of this one. And maybe even get some prio to get that dragon, as that's certainly what was on Aegis' mind.
Let's see if they can actually get it. I think they can, as Tatu is on the other side of the map. They don't really care. In 15 seconds time, the trio grabs will spawn, so they can just trade that with no real issues while keep on pressuring on the top side. Gigo, 2/3 already into his Dominus cooldown, and that could be the angle to start pressuring FNB. FNB with no flash, and with so much crowd control existing between the Scanner and the Renekton, might be in trouble over there.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, the World Ender would certainly help, but that's going to be value obviously negated by the early Executioners here from Gigo. It's a nice little wave that he can crash here. Pops the W. Gigo taken pretty low, but Tatu maybe looking for something here. All right, everybody and their mother coming up. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow! Actually, I don't know what landed, but he did get CC'd there. Gets the Impale down. FNB in a little bit of trouble. Hook lands onto the wall. Jojo able to provide enough cover fire and take the tower aggro. Clean. Easy. Never a doubt.
I mean, not gonna lie, the moment that Gigo just dashed right in again, I got severely stressed out, but he knew what he was doing. I don't know, once again, I'm just a caster, I'm just 30 years old, so, getting all the boomerish thoughts. They find the kill, and now they're looking for the grabs, but now, Red is there and tries to fight.
I was going to say they're on very low HP. Tatu going to eat all of the culling almost. Gigo might be the sacrificial lamb here. Mago using his actual flash, using his W Ignite, though. Pops the healing. The Dominus comes up. Is that, in fact, the angle? No, it's a little too much damage to chew through. Shutdown goes over to Brunsey. Not for nothing, that could be huge as he looks to accelerate and carve his place out in this composition.
Ooh, that game is so close right now. I still don't know who's going to come up ahead as we turn into the mid-game. FourY4 still ahead in terms of gold, and usually that means that they will find the fight.
It's all about how you're going to play this composition out. I mean, Red certainly have a number of different ways that they can come into this. FNB can always, look, on the Aatrox, you can always be a menace in the mid-game, right? You get one good team fight where you're not really targeted, right? You're allowed to run Riot. The anti-heal doesn't come down on you, but I think that's going to be kind of the big difference, right? As FNB kind of getting bullied here early on. Actually, okay, he's made the CS deficit not terrible. I feel like he was down almost 20 at one point, so it's not horrific, but he's not in a good spot necessarily either. But Red, they certainly have an avenue into this one. An unorthodox pick, obviously, Mago on the Zoe. Had himself a really good game one on the Corki, but a very, very different style of champion here. As the Paddle Star lands there onto Tuts, he's playing the Zoe actually pretty nicely here.
Yep, he knows how to trade, even though he doesn't know how to sometimes dodge a gank. The trading pattern is there. He knows his matchups. He has played this matchup before. It shows.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see if he knows how to pilot Zoe in a competitive environment, because sometimes it's so different.
Yeah.
Even in chaotic games, the information, the collaboration through all of those players sometimes can be the difference maker.
Oh
Tatu,
boy, here comes
very nice
Tatu,
angle.
gets the Impale. The Trisk Glacial Prison doesn't land. Tatu had no idea Aegis was there, and it literally did not matter.
Yep, that was Skarner diff, I feel. He piloted so nicely, also making sure that the ult goes through the slip and he gets
Ooh.
all of those extra. Oh,
Tidal Wave goes out and JoJo gets punished. A little bit over eager like we saw last game. Frosty with the immediate Tidal Wave. Good response there by the Red Canids bottom lane.
yep, very nice answer. Brancy getting himself ahead. And this time he is in a champion with a lot of agency, but also a lot of punish potentials. He might get punished time and time again every time that he dashes, as there is a Skarner, and now he's hovering the mid lane.
Let's see if he can find an angle here onto Brunsey. He's got both his summoners, able to dash away, cleanses out of the root. Here comes Frosty. Not a ton of mana, but you got the cover of the tower to protect you. Still a ton of damage that came down onto Brunsey, but he's able to hold on to his flash.
Yeah, finds the cleanse. Ayu, no enchanted crystal arrow, so he can really follow up after the cleanse just to make sure that you can deal with the enemy ADC. But it's still, you're getting a couple of summoners here, a couple of summoners there, and you're getting incremental leads. Bar the bot lane, look at the rest of the map. 350 gold on a tag matchup, it's fine, it's good to have. The mid lane is even, but the top lane, I mean, FNB will have a lot of trouble.
They are just bullying my boy here. He has to pop the World Ender, try to get something out of this. There goes the CC chain. Tatu, he's got the Impale. No, he doesn't have the Impale, actually. Going for it without the Skarner ultimate. Bit of a brave decision, but you have to be able to flash. Here comes the Realm War, pulls him right back into it. Does JoJo, and Tuts will add the finishing touches. FNB's not having a good time.
Yep, he's not 0-2-0, lagging behind 20 CS. Gigo just popping the Dominus, but he is in trouble as well.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming in from Mago. The Permafrost stacks go down. Frosty able to add some chain CC, and Gigo, he flashed over the tidal wave! Gigo might stay alive here! How did he do that?
He's not Gigo, he is God right now! Oh no, that didn't hit Riot!
Aegis, come on, man, we were having a moment.
Yeah, but also that shouldn't have hit. Like, did you see the hitbox? It was
Generous.
a Riot moment.
Yeah.
What generous is? I feel it's an understatement.
Charitable. Yeah.
Let's go charitable. Yeah.
Able to grab the dragon off the back of this are Red Canids, or at least he's certainly going to try. Yeah, Tatu's not going to contest that. He's in a good spot, though, right? 100% kill participation, and I feel like this game has followed a bit of a similar script, except more of an advantage from the Red Canids bottom lane. Aegis having a much better time in this game. We looked at, we didn't really kind of point it out explicitly, but he was getting blasted that last game in terms of CS. I mean, just absolutely bent over a barrel, but now it's a much more even matchup. But in the bottom lane, like you pointed out, Rev, Red in a pretty good spot here, but again, we've seen this blueprint before, right? 14 minutes, FourY4's up, less than 1,000 gold, but still, not nothing here. And they've got tools to move around the map here. Both solo laners have TP. Obviously, the Realm Warp is going to be big from Tuts. Tatu having himself another blinder of a game. He is everywhere, just as he was last game. What's different for Red this time around? What can they do to avoid the same fate?
Oh, that's a very, very good question.
Thank you.
And the answer is not a lot. Because you mentioned that Aegis right now, he is in a way better spot, but he also pilots a champion where it doesn't really matter that he is in a better spot. Well, this matters, as I think that Frosty dies. Yeah.
Yep.
Good night. He got frosted.
Yeah, Frosty just not allowed to play the game on that one. Chain CC way too strong, and I mean that's just like it's rinse and repeat from Tatu, right? He's everywhere, and he is ripping his E, the Ishtal's Impact, into the Impale every single time, and the kills are guaranteed. If he lands that combo, it's like you said, it's a Skarner diff. There's a reason this champion is still so strong.
Yeah, especially in competitive, he's one of those champions where if he is played in the right hands, competitive players know how to pilot him, know exactly the angles, and know how strong he is with very, very little resources. Also the creative angles. He's like a better old Rek'Sai, if you ask me. And I know that's why nobody asked me, but I still believe that he's a better old Rek'Sai.
I see what you're saying, though, right? You can take creative angles, you can ignore walls effectively, right? Show up. laid out a bunch of CC. I think Rek'Sai probably did more damage. Heyo! Glacial Prison right after the Arctic Assault. Hang on. Okay, I had to blow the flash there, did Brunsey. Here comes the tidal wave after the depth charge. Brunsey might be able to get out here. Stayed just a little bit longer to deal some damage, get some healing from Frosty. Brunsey able to get over there with the Relentless Pursuit. Got in, got out. Easy as you like. No, nothing. Never worried.
Yeah, somehow he found those angles. Somehow it did work. And we'll see if they've managed to find those angles time and time again, because that's what's important, right?
Yeah.
You got the kill there, but you spent the flash just to get it, and it was on a timer where you didn't have his ultimate. Next time, he will have the ultimate. Next time, he will have the way to answer you, and you won't have the flash to get away from under the turret.
And it's what do Red do with this, right? I mean, they might be first to a tower here. Maybe Tuts can wave clear in a flash. Yep, goodbye. Frost able to get the Aqua Prison down. Mago blows the W cleanse. As the mandate ticks come down. Yeah, but still, there's nothing. But this game has been a much bigger deadlock. No towers have gone down still here 17 minutes into this game. Rune Prison goes down. He missed the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but he's undeterred because he has a pocket Frosty. But now with JoJo coming in, okay, maybe he's a little deterred.
Yep, I think now he's quite deterred, if you ask me. Thing is, what's going on the map right now? We are in that very, very critical 17 to 20 minute mark, and I'm looking at Furia, and their weapons of choice are coming up. Ayo, level 11, Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Looking at Ayo, the previous fight, getting engaged upon, flashes out, and survives for so long. Brancy almost dies, has that Relentless Pursuit cooldown once again. That Jojo Anchor was generous, to say the least, again. But you're getting the kill, you're getting out clean, calm, collected. At least you're getting a gold lead on yourself. But he is playing with a champion that has to constantly be doing stuff with a gold lead. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and he's been doing it. I mean, both these junglers, right? They've been very, very active. So you got to give them both credit for that. Because like you said, it is really just what you do with it, right? You got to be ripping your ultimates on cooldown. You got to be ganking constantly to make your presence felt here. But especially before Tuts really gets rolling. Gigo, eventually he will fall off, but right now he's playing a good game. He took FNB completely out of this game. Brunsey has to cleanse away the Enchanted Crystal Arrow stun. But that's someone else we haven't seen really get involved. Probably not of his own accord. As another ult comes in, the Glacial Prison cleansed out of. Dragon going to spawn in 15 seconds. It will be an Ocean Soul for grabs here in about 10 minutes, potentially. We'll see if FourY has anything else to say about it. But again, speaking of similarities from last game, again, Red got the first couple dragons, but FourY, this is where they usually take control here. But Red, this time around, they feel like they're in a much better position to answer and fight back. Here comes FNB. He's got himself an item and a half. Tidal Wave goes out. The volley goes out as well. Age is trying to frontline. Gigo immediately jumps onto the back line. Big impale. Gets Brunsey. Gets FNB. Pops the World Ender. Realm Warp to try to close the space a little bit. Get some CC down the Rune Prison. FNB again. This is the sacrificial lamb for his team. Tuts grabbing himself his second kill of the game. Rev, we thought it was going to be different, but for now it's looking like another FourY mid-game masterclass.
Yeah, it's not that different. If FourY has anything to say, Ayu, he's dead. Yeah. He's just dead.
That's Zoe, baby.
Oh, that's more than Zoe, baby. That's I think that's Mago there, and that's the solo queue special pick.
Yeah, hang on a second here. Actually, with Mago just ripping damage like this might not be the fight that they were looking for. Tut's able to grab the... Somehow, it just ends up with another member of Red Canids dead.
Oh.
And actually make it two more. How did Red come back into that fight and still end up with everyone dead?
I mean, if I had the answers, I don't know, something else. I wouldn't be here or something like that. But I don't have the answers. Don't look at me. I'm just a poor little wannabe caster.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Again, it's they're poor Red, man. Like they can't do wrong for doing right. It is incredible the way that things are falling apart here. FourY, in the blink of an eye, went from 700 gold to 4,000 gold up here, and that wasn't I didn't think that was even a bad fight to take from Red necessarily. Yeah. But Tatu, just with the impales, man, he's just money with those.
I mean, I think that this fight was more or less Gigo Masterclass, because he was the one starting it, right? You saw the angle, he found Brancy didn't have a flash, didn't have his cleanse. They were all taken away by IU in the last couple of plays. And now the angle is there, the engage on top of him, and they just know how to play those fights. I think that's what's most important there, because when you know how to play those fights, you know how to take advantage of every single little thing that the enemy has given you.
And that's exactly what they're doing. You give these guys an inch, they will take a mile. Furia, just another game that's proving, Rev, that they are a team to be taken very, very seriously in this league, firmly cementing themselves into the top 4 and probably the top 3, depending on who you ask. Might be our second best teams. I know you are not as hot on Vivocade, and I think, look, I think even the most Vivocade of Vivocade fans, they'd have a hard time arguing with you that they are a better team than Furia. But right now, Furia, they are looking like the second best team in this league.
I mean, yeah, or maybe even the first, honestly. If they manage to smooth out a little bit of the early game, but as I say that, I'm thinking of the rest teams, and nobody has as smooth of an early game, right?
Yeah.
Right now, all of the teams can struggle in the early game, and that means that if Furia can find themselves consistently in a place where in the middle of a game they are at least close in terms of gold, who's going to be there to stop them? I don't see any other team fighting as cleanly as them.
No, it's really, really difficult. I mean, even Loud, right? They gave them a series, and Loud, they're always a good team fighting team. They're unfortunately not really consistently good for much else these days, but they can play out a lead should they get it. They can throw it, but they usually can team fight pretty well. There's a lot of experience, obviously, on that team. A combined, 533 titles, I think it is. But right now, it feels like, no team has a consistent early game. I think that's an astute insight. But Furia right now, even if you give them an inch, right, they will take a lot. Mago might have vaulted himself into certain death. Ult goes out. Tatu read him like a book. Very nicely done. Killing spree for Tuts.
Yep, excellent angle over there. And I think you start to see every time, like, the rest of the teams don't know what to do when they start to find themselves in these scenarios. And it's the beginning of the end. Time and time again, it's same story. You think you found the angle, you think you found the fight, but it's Furia once again finding everything.
Tuts bringing Tatu into the fight. Furia looking for more. Depth charge goes up. FNB again just not allowed to play the game. An absolutely brutal game for him. Not really of his own fault necessarily. Like, it's not that he's just inting. It's just when things happen like this, if Aegis isn't there, FNB has to be the one to soak up the pressure, and he just gets ripped through. And he got bullied in the early game. It's just not a good game for him, and Furia are running away with this one. They're going to get the Otacon. Now, Baron's not up, but if that was up, they could probably just take that. I mean, it feels inevitable here, Rev. Furia playing another really good, clean game of League of Legends.
Yep, Furia are a team not to be trifled with.
No.
They know how to play the game. They know how to play those fights. They know when they spike, and I don't know how to punish them. I don't know. When I keep thinking about the rest of the teams that we have in this league, I feel like they are always a step ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You see here, Mago, he's on the sideline. He feels pretty safe. He feels kind of mobile, but no, he's not as mobile as he'd like to be. And he's just dead.
Yeah, their map control is stellar, right? I mean, Furia, even if they do make a misstep, they rarely do so without getting something back as well. Again, which we want to talk about, like the signs of a good mid-game team and just a team that knows what they're doing, a well-coached team. Shout out to ThinkCard coming down from North America and continuing the Furia legacy, right? I mean, he wasn't the coach last year, but he has continued what was a very kind of strong start for them. Brought in Tatu, had, I don't know how much decision, how much power ThinkCard himself had over that decision, or if that was management, right? Sporting director versus coach, if you will, general manager versus coach. But the faith has been rewarded that they put into Tatu. He has been unbelievable. Yep. 12 out of 15 kill participation right now, 80% for those of you keeping score at home. And ThinkCard has really just instilled, again, just continued the good stuff that Furia had going for him. We're going to pop the Dominus to try to buy his team a little bit of time to get something. Maybe there's no objectives to fight over. Maybe it's to buy time for Tatu to get here. Gigo surviving for so long. I'm telling you, man, that Sterix is a cheat code. The Impale goes down again. Even when Red Canids do the right thing, they come out on the wrong side of it. Furia going to mop the floor with the Wolfpack one more time. Double kill for Tuts. It is a massacre on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, I think that's more or less the end.
Yep.
That's the beginning of the end for sure. As Zoe is the only one standing, and Mago is trying to do something to Ayu, but Ayu isn't falling for the same tricks time and time again. Or maybe he's. Maybe
Well,
he isn't.
let's see. IU. Nope, not going to be enough. Shut down there for Mago, but this is, this is like getting the, I don't know. Hey, there we go. It's like getting the lollipop after you got a shot, like after, at the doctor's office for being a brave, brave boy. It's like you did your best, but you're still in pain.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking of another shot there in the end because
Yeah.
that's what it feels to be Red Canid after the 20-minute mark. They keep getting shot left, right, and center. And I'm not sure, but I think I saw the rest of Furia just not approaching Mago and leaving it as a 1v1. But I guess if we'll have a replay, we're gonna see it once again. This game, I think it's done. I think it's that. There must be multiple heavy throws for Red to be back, as the goal lead is very, very close to 12k right now.
Yeah, it is pretty much insurmountable at this point. Like I said, it would take 10,000 throws from Furia, but they are not going to. That is not who they are. The only team they've kind of wilted in front of is, the likes of Pain Gaming, but even then, they beat them in the positioning phase. Let's not forget, Gigo took a little too much right out of there. But now the big Impale, there's no follow-up, though. It's really just to buy time, and they're able to swipe away the Dragon. Now 1 point off of Ocean Soul. That's a big gold swing there, but again, there's a meme here in the U.S. There was a basketball series that Devin Booker hits a 3 to cut the lead down to 42. Have you seen that?
Yeah. It's an excellent meme.
Yeah.
Honestly, the lead though, it's down by almost 3k.
It was a way bigger swing than I thought. I thought it was gonna be like 1,000, but now they're back down to 4 digits essentially.
I mean, now they're back 5, but anyways, thing is, it was only because Gigot didn't have access to the Dominus for a couple of seconds, so that Sterak's wasn't as strong as he expected to be. But let's see if FNB can survive that, and the answer is yes. Very, very quick answer. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
5-1 for him. It's a shame. I mean, they did what we asked, right? Put FNB on a carry. Put him on something that can take over a game, like the Aatrox, can be just an absolutely unkillable monster. But Gigo grabbed the Executioner's Calling early and just told Tatu, hey, clear gank, clear gank, clear gank. And FNB has been, he's been doing traffic cone cosplay this game. He has been, again, I don't want to rag on him too much because I don't feel like it's really his fault, but he's been useless.
I mean, yeah, it's a pick that can get punished. And I think that this game from Furia is really a showcase for the rest of the teams, right? How to do. Oh, Gigo, once again.
Yep. He's going to get jumped on here, but again, buying enough time for his team to get something else done on the map. They're going to grab that mid-tier 2. Now the question is just, can they get the mid-tier 3? And I think they should be able to. Yeah, you're going to be able to dump a bunch of arrows into that. Maybe now the question is the inhibitor. Maybe? Yeah, I think they should be able to. Yeah, they're just not quick enough. Yeah, 1 Gigo for 2 towers and an inhibitor. Okay, just 2 towers. Okay, fair enough. And Mago doing his thing down on the bottom side, getting the objective bounty. Yeah, okay, I think that's why the gold swing was as big as it was. The Dragon was an objective bounty, so got a little extra injection of cash there. Another Impale takes away the tank. Don't have the AD carry there to rip through them, but the Enchantress Crusader will go out onto the backline, onto Frosty. Death Charge lands onto Aegis. And that will be all she wrote. A lot of ultimates blown there.
Wait, Mago.
Yeah, Mago is just completely by himself, grabbed himself 2 objective bounties. Furia don't seem too worried about it. They are confident that they can push in faster than Red can push in on their side, and they know they're betting. They're calling his bluff. They're saying, Mago, you've got to come back here and defend, bud. And sure enough, that's exactly what he does. But too little, too late. Not 1, but 2 inhibitors have gone down, and they get out of there with the safety of the Realm Warp.
Yeah, and the bottle inhibitor is still up. I mean, you're getting the inhibitor turret, and in the case that you manage to find those fights, it is a very nice asset to have. But you don't have the perma push, and who has it? It's Furia on 2 lanes right now, so they can only focus on 1 lane. Gigo, he can be on the weak side if there's only 1 side on the map, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, well said. There is no weak side with Furia at this point. Again, he just buys so much time with the Death Stance and the Sterix, and the heal cut as well. He might be able to get something back depending on how many members they send. But Furia have yet to deliver that knockout blow, but they've certainly set themselves well up for it. The gold lead has gone down by about 5,000 since from its peak. Well, maybe not 5, maybe it was like 3 or 4. But point is, the 2 inhibitors are down. Now they've got avenues to really end this game.
Yeah, now they can just look to synchronize their cooldowns. Everything's up and available by the Realm Warp. Also, all of their flashes are up, so they can look for that fight. They can flash defensively if needed. They can look for the flash impale. Tattoo. He has to prove that what we told him about him was no fluke, and that he will not get gigsed.
Yeah, please do not. No. Did you say get gigsed?
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's a damn.
I mean, it is what it is.
No,
right?
it is what it is. I wish it wasn't that, but it is what it is. You speak truth, Rev. I've hundreds of languages in this world, thousands even, and you choose to speak facts. And we appreciate that.
Yeah. I went to Bubble. They made a very nice tower over there, and now I don't speak English. Maybe Furia will speak the language of Win, or Red will play defense. 2 mega minions on the top side. Now somebody has to go and answer.
Yeah, double super minions on that top side. Getting much tougher to deal with. Again, they're just, Furia. It is methodical, man. It works, but it is not the cutthroat, vicious League of Legends that you usually see from kind of your top teams. But again, it's working really well, and they were the only team to beat Pain in the positioning phase. They look really strong. They're going to play this one out really slowly. I think they're going to transition over to the Baron, but actually Red have decent vision on that top side of the map.
Yeah, at least so far, because you can transition to the Baron. They can have Giga once again push to the bottom side, and if once again 3 or 4 people go and collapse onto Giggle, and you will have more than enough time to deal with the big purple worm named Nasher. But so far, there's only one person there, and that one person can't really stand up, as he's still 4k behind. They killed Giggle 3 times in a row, and that's still the biggest gold lead in the game.
Yeah, it is not even close. I mean, he's 2 levels up on him. There's nothing he can do. 2 levels and like an item and a half ahead. It is absolutely unplayable, and not in a good way. Ayu gets ripped through. The Enchantress Crusader doesn't land, but Tatu goes over. Flash, just waiting for the flashes to go down. Then he's going to grab the initial impact into the Impale, playing very patiently. That is so much damage coming in from Tuts, and Ayu rips right through Frosty. It's a 5v4, or well, I should say a 4v3, as FNB locks into that bottom lane. Gigo not letting him go anywhere.
I mean, you got Mago's Flash as well, but he is not the one you're looking to get. You're looking to get Brancy, you're looking to get Aegis, and then you can turn the bar on Jojo, trying to find those angles, and there's a teleport, but I think they know.
Yeah, I think they sniffed that one out. Gigo immediately has to slice and dice away. Gonna grab himself a Krug for his troubles, and the Baron just gets absolutely melted. Yeah, it doesn't matter what your composition is. When you are 8,000 gold ahead at 33 minutes, you have enough damage to take that in the blink of an eye. Ayu on 3.5 items with the Phantom Dancer as well. Gonna grab himself, looks like the Bloodthirster. At the end of that, yep, 4 items. It is just a matter of time. Red Canids, man, it's a shame because you see promising individual pieces, right? Brunsey having himself an alright game, all things considered, actually ahead of Ayu in gold, playing a fundamentally sound game. Aegis had a really good early game. He was at the right place at the right time, but again, just that mid-game rolls around and it's one sloppy fight from Red. And if there's any team that's going to punish that, it's Furia. And it just all falls apart. And it doesn't help that FNB, again, has just been a traffic cone for pretty much the entire game.
Yeah, no, nothing to do over there. And I think that Aegis was something like 3-1-2 at some point. Mm-hmm. He's only gotten 1 assist from that point onwards. Really, really hard game to play. And let's see if they will find that angle. They only have 1 tower to protect. The inhibitors will start spawning pretty shortly, as 2 seconds more.
Yep, there goes one, and the other one grabbed its extra life button there as well. Tower going down very quickly. They're just going to take that 3rd inhibitor there. Continue pressure on the map with the Baroned up super minion, with the Baroned up regular minions, I should say, for now. But dotting their I's and crossing their T's as Furia look to advance to 2-0 in the group stage. And the best part is for them, all they have is Fluxu left next week. So it should be just a clean 3-0 for Furia. They should, if everything goes well here, play the 2nd place team in Group A Hook lands onto Aegis. He gets knocked up, ripped through, impale for the chain CC. Cherry on top. A lot of damage there onto Tuts, but with the Seraph Shield and the stopwatch, able to buy himself some time and allow his team to do the rest. A triple, making a quadra kill for Tatu, because that's just how this game has been going for FourY4. 11, 1, and 12 on the Skarner. Have yourself a day, young man.
Yeah, that's a jungler over there. He is cementing himself as a powerhouse in LTA South, and for sure, I don't think there's going to be even a voting. He should be the MVP of the series.
Absolutely.
First one, the Xin Zhao, absolute masterclass. Second one, Skarner shows that he can play both sides, and the carry, and the tank, and he can do it both at once.
Tatu's a star, man. He's an absolute star. It's absolutely awesome to see. I mean, he was one of the shining lights in Academy last year, but he wasn't kind of the guy that you're like, oh, this guy needs to get called up right now. But you knew he could do a job. But man, oh man, I mean, what he has done in this series and in this last game, again, 11, 1, and 12. What are we doing? It was a perfect game from him.
23 kill participation, 1 death with a tank. He was always in the face of the enemy team, always finding some very, very nice impales, baiting out summoners. I'm speechless.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no words. Anything I say will be a disservice to him because he deserves more.
Yeah, he's not a budding star anymore. He has arrived. He's here, man. Because again, like, it's okay. You can go toe to toe with the top teams, but I think the other side of what makes good teams really good is the teams that you should beat. Not only do you beat, but you kind of dumpster them. And through this whole series, up until the 12 or 13 minute, or after the 12 or 13 minute mark of either game, Red Canids, they were just waiting for the end, right? These games, and that's maybe the one, knock you could have on FourY4 is they are a little slow to close out games, but they don't make mistakes, right? So one kind of comes with the other. I feel like sometimes you can't have it both ways. But if you're FourY4, and again, you are still a younger roster that I think is ahead of schedule. Not punching above its weight, because I think this team is legitimately good, but they are a bit ahead of schedule. I don't think anyone expected them to be this dominant this early. I think that's kind of the storyline to take away for FourY4.
I mean, and I want to fast forward a little bit, and maybe I'm counting my eggs before they hatch, but what team would you like to then face off versus the LTA North teams? Would you like an explosive team that can kind of clap people and still make a lot of mistakes, or would you like a team that plays it slow, methodically, and usually doesn't blow leads?
Yeah.
I would prefer the latter every day of the week.
Yeah, and it's wild because in Split 1, we didn't get to see FourY4 in cross-conference. They finished 5th, which is a shame. It is a crying shame that we did not get to see them in cross-conference, because I would have loved for them to have, even if they got slapped, that experience would have been invaluable. And again, having a coach like ThinkCard, who coached NRG to that championship, beat G2 in the quarterfinals, as I will remind every European I meet until the end of time, you've got a really good foundation in place, right? And I would have loved to see them have that experience early on, because we don't get cross-conference play in Split 2, but we do get it in Split 3. And absolutely, FourY4, I mean, look, again, even if they are, yeah, it's a shame, because I really do feel like the LTA North, right? I mean, like, that first cross-conference, it can be a bit of a gut punch, right? If you're not ready for it. You get a little over your skis, because I think while FourY4 have found their feet in the LTA South, there's still that voice in my head, right? Like, once you go international, and even LTA North, that is international, right? And you will always be the underdogs if you're coming from LTA South until you prove otherwise. So with a young team, you can get a little bit over your skis, maybe, and that's my worry.
Yeah. I mean, you can, but you need to go through the growing pains as well. Like as G2 did when they lost to NRG, they were still a young team. They had a couple of rookies over there, so that must happen. Let it happen as soon as possible. Yep. So then you just have the growing and none of the pains.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, no, and you said it more succinctly than I could have. That's why I wanted them to be in Split 1 in that cross-conference, right? To get some of those growing pains out of the way, because I worry that Split 3 might be just that, growing pains. Anyway, FourY4, phenomenal from them. We cannot sing their praises highly enough. Red, again, they're okay. They're not amazing. FourY4 just outclassed them kind of front to back. Any final notes on Red or this series in general before we send the people home?
I mean, Red still showed some very, very good sides. The thing is, like, they are... Okay, if Flaxo is still building step by step, and they are like somewhere between the second and the third step, Red Canids have built a whole staircase, and they have realized that there are the steps number 5, 7, 13, and 15 are missing. They have the rest. Everything rest is very, very stable. Thing is, when you don't go step by step every time, you tend to be falling into those empty spaces every other time. And that's what we see happening, I feel. That's why they can consistently win out any other Witcher team, and they consistently seem to be lacking. They seem to be punching and not having enough strength to actually beat the higher end teams. And that's harder to fix. That's the issue in my mind. The thing that Flaxa has is a long-term project, but the thing that Red Canids have, the issues are harder to fix. They are not a specific individual. They are not some fundamentals. They are left, right, and center.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. This should be the finished article, right? This should be like, no, this is the end phase, right? But they're looking around and going, actually, no, we have a lot of work still to do. Like you said, you're not waiting. You're waiting for, the only guy you're waiting for to develop more is Mago. That's it, right? And he, I thought, was one of the better players in this series.
And Doom. Oh, wait.
Yeah, we gave up on that, didn't we? Because we want to win now. Oh boy, Red's a mess. But nothing new over there. Yeah, I think they're going to be that benchmark team, right? You must be this tall to ride, right? If you are better than Red, great. If you are worse, you are not going to beat them. But anyway, that'll gonna do it for us. Thank you to Rev. Thank you for thank you to you for stepping in early on for Sophie. She was feeling under the weather. Thank you to Bren. Thank you to Chippy, our producer. For everyone involved, we'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. More best of threes coming your way. I've been 4x4. This has been the LTA South English stream. Thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your Saturday.